The sky is being torn open by a tall god. As the gap of the protoss was opened, a colorful light began to meet the noon sun from the crack and began to spill. At that moment, the human race in the human world was attracted by the sudden appearance of the tall figure. But at the same time, it brings a kind of hope. God, they didn't give up after all. Look, the gods have come down to earth. Yes, we are finally saved. Don't be stunned, kill quickly, God is coming. Let's not be afraid, kill. Kill. The resistance of the Terran to the killing seemed to have a kind of spiritual sustenance at that moment. It became more and more frustrated and courageous. The sound of Howren's killing spread throughout the whole human world. However, Tianqian didn't pay attention to those, because it took too much spiritual power and energy to tear up the gap of Protoss from the human world. Even with the thunder that guards the Protoss, he is more and more powerless. However, when he looked down at the figure of a man and a woman, he seemed to have some kind of persistence. In fact, he is not dull, not really stupid, very easy to cheat. However, he didn't know why. Ever since he saw these two people, he always had an impulse to get close to them. Even for the sake of these two Terrans, the robbers of Tianlong ran to the human world to tear up the gap between the Protoss. It's crazy. I can't imagine why. But he knew that in the countless years he lived, the only thing that made him want to do crazy things was them. Perhaps, it is also possible that because of his madness, the Protoss will be brought into a desperate situation. If he does get to that point, he will go ahead. As the crack grew larger and larger, the colorful light finally seemed to merge with the noon sun. Suddenly, a strong light suddenly shot out from the Book of Heaven that Yunwu had just taken out. Silent energy, but suddenly burst open. The color of the afterwave began to spread straight into the sky in all directions, like a color light shield, quickly filled the entire human world. Even spread to the upper bound, and at the moment when the human world and the upper world were shrouded, everything around seemed to stop in an instant. Yes, everything in the human world and the upper world has stopped. It's completely still. Whether it's the blood splashing out in the fight, or the action of preparing to stab the enemy, both worlds are silent. Except for the three. Dragon Qingxia, cloud dance, with that should also fall into the static time in the sky. Tianqian was not limited by time, so at the moment when he exhausted his spiritual power, his figure suddenly fell from the air. Fortunately, Long Qingxia picked him up. Otherwise, it would be too tragic for a god to be killed. What's going on? The sky trace complexion pale of saw all around of uncanny, frown of see to that dragon poor evil to ask away. What's going on? But the dragon just shrugged and didn't know the situation. Therefore, the two men both looked at the cloud dance with satisfaction. What's the matter? Cloud dance at this time, just dropped the vision on that day trace body. You have not been stopped by time. It seems that your background is really a little different. What's going on? Is that the way to stop the catastrophe? The eyebrows of Tianhen are deeply locked. Cloud dance deeply looked at him and then said, if you really want to know what's going on, come with me. Finish saying, flower purple Yao then slowly toward day book close. Dragon Qing evil see this. 3 or 2 steps to go past, and her figure is about to disappear in the beam. Hold her hand, 10 fingers clasp. The sky trace sees this, which dares to hesitate, also hastily strides away. Soon, 3 figures disappeared in the light beam, disappeared in this space. However, the human world and the upper world are still static. Fairyland and Protoss are not so good. The fairyland of the main battlefield has completely become the land of blood. The Protoss are still fighting with the demons in the face of the invasion of the biting Protoss. And the 3 who disappeared under the light of the heavenly book. At this time, it is standing in a condensed world. There was a pallor and emptiness all around. Where is this? The sky trace eye sweeps around, doubt inquires. Cloud dance clenched dragon's hand and whispered, the passage to the past. In the past? What do you mean? Tianqian doesn't understand. Long Qingxia seems to understand. You mean the Book of Heaven sent us back to the past? She said that the Book of Heaven sent her to the future, so it's impossible to send them back to the past. Yunwu nodded and walked forward slowly, explaining, because the Book of Heaven was damaged before, it could not send us back to the original world. So I asked General Tianqian to open the gap of the Protoss. The Book of Heaven is outside the Protoss, only the spiritual power within the Protoss, plus noon. It should be almost there. Do you want us to go back to the past and change the future? The Sky Marks pick eyebrows. It shouldn't be that simple. The dragon returns. Otherwise, when Yunwu was sent to the future, it would not just watch that happen. Indeed, the future and the past sent by the Book of Heaven can only be seen but not changed. Then you open the gap just to see the past? Tianhen feels that his scalp is a little big. Did he really do something crazy? Soon you'll know. Yunwu is not going to explain anything, because she needs to make sure of one thing. And soon in this pale empty space, gradually appeared a white stone door. That's their destination. Past. What kind of past is it? Evil. This word really makes Cloud Dance have an inexplicable and curious origin. And she always felt that as long as she could understand this matter as soon as possible, there might be unexpected solutions to this catastrophe. The stone gate, as soon as the three people approached, suddenly opened automatically and slowly. Cloud Dance, remember the rules. I can only last about an hour. You should as soon as possible. Just as the stone gate opened, the childish voice of Tianqiu sounded in Yunwu's ears. And the dragon Qingxia, and the trace of heaven can't be heard. When the stone door was completely open, the dazzling white light suddenly appeared, so that the three people could not open their eyes and reached out to block in front of them. When the light disappeared and the three men put down their arms in front of them, everything they saw was completely turned upside down. It turned out that their previous life was actually the first race to open up in chaos. Heaven Eaters. Terrans, Protoss, even demons and biting Protoss are all from biting heaven. At the beginning of chaos, there was a highly intelligent race in the world. They were a species born in response to heaven and earth, known as the heaven-eating race. However, with the growth of the earth and the passage of time, all kinds of creatures and animals began to emerge in the world. The Heaven Eaters also began to understand that they have unlimited life and power on this earth. However, they are all men. At first, I didn't feel anything, but for the Heaven Eaters who have a mortal life, years will slowly start to brew a kind of lonely mood. Boring life become a kind of torture. Especially for them, who live at the top of the earth's food chain. They are gradually tormented by endless loneliness and boredom, until they gradually found that the lower creatures on the earth actually appeared a kind of called female creatures. They don't know what love is, and they don't know what they want to call it. But the most they have in their lives is time. As time goes by, they gradually find that in their boring years, there seems to be a lack of a kind of creature called female. Therefore, the Heaven Eater, who has no desire and no desire, began to have a desire to create a perfect female for the Heaven Eater. However, it's not easy to create a perfect female who is worthy of biting heaven. The failure again and again, but let Bite Day Clan that boring life a little more interesting. Also let them more tireless efforts. However, as a result, there are more and more failed products, resulting in the emergence of another kind of female like human, demon and beast. The female reproductive capacity, there is a surprising existence. Gradually, there are all kinds of races in the world, people, demons, animals. However, for the Heaven Eaters, they are just a bunch of failed products, and they don't care about them, let alone the Heaven Eaters. In order not to be disturbed, the Heaven Eaters created the world, separated the heaven from the earth, and blocked the disturbance of those failed products. And just like that, the heaven and earth were united and separated from each other. There are more and more different races on the earth. However, those who live in the sky are still clinging to their perfect works, and are not concerned about what happens on the earth. Until one day, they finally created one of the most perfect women in the world. They named her Tiannu. It means that, like them, she has the most noble identity in the world. With the existence of this heavenly daughter, the people of Bitian tribe finally get rid of the loneliness and boredom in endless years. In the next 10 years, it was the happiest time for the Heaven Eaters. However, loneliness and boredom are gradually disappearing. But in the days of the heavenly daughter, a terrible thing has quietly grown up in the family of Bitian. Something called emotion. Once there is love, it will begin to condense into love, jealousy, possessiveness and so on. Love, terrible, terrible enough to destroy a race. The Heaven Eaters have no natural enemies, and even have immortal life and powerful power. However, such a race has almost disappeared in a short period of 10 years. 10 years. For a high-end race that has endless years and will never die, it will die out in 10 years? What a thrill it was. But the fact is that in 10 years, the Heaven Eaters, standing at the top of the world, killed each other and killed themselves. And the reason, just for one, triumph. They spent thousands of years elaborately creating the most perfect heavenly daughter. Funny. It took the Heaven Eaters thousands of years to calculate everything, but they didn't. They would become crazy for their own works. The cannibalism of the Heaven Eaters has almost reached the point of destroying heaven and earth. In that war, the Heaven Eaters almost wiped themselves out. As for the heavenly daughter, she was injured by mistake in that war. In the end, only a few of them survived, and they were seriously injured. Tian was finally captured by one of the strongest Yintian men. And the man who really fell in love with Tiannu was beheaded and killed by the man, because he was defeated. Tian wants to go with her. But because he was defeated, he was imprisoned by the strongest man, and was forced to give birth to a son. And that son is the first Protoss master in the world. The Heaven Eaters are the Protoss in the future. Tiannu has been imprisoned for thousands of years. Renru, the most powerful man of Tianzu, has never stopped hating him. One day, the heavenly daughter escaped from the cage by her son's hand. It's just that she has nowhere to run. So she came to the place where her former lover's head was cut off and her body was buried, and she committed suicide. Before committing suicide, he poured his own heavenly daughter's power into the earth and cursed it. He revived his former lover, and let him lead the dead under the earth to become the most ferocious and powerful devouring Protoss and devouring and destroying the Protoss. The blood of the heavenly daughter turned into the most poisonous toxin and flowed into the earth. Also resurrected that has become a skeleton of the body, the undead under the earth, into a devouring Protoss, began to wantonly climb out from under the earth. Start killing and swallowing everything in the world. The strongest man of Biting Heaven clan, looking at Tiannu's suicide and curse, seemed to really understand that he finally got hatred. The man of the Heaven Swallowing clan, relying on his powerful strength, sealed the skeleton of the resurrection leader, but the earth was full of holes. In order to appease the woman's resentment that day, he chose to disperse his strength and use his body to turn into mountains and rivers to fill up the land full of holes. At the same time, it also completely suppressed the devouring Protoss under the earth. At that moment, the Protoss began to take charge of the earth and became the master of the heaven and earth. In order to increase the vitality, the Protoss created the human race. The demons, on the other hand, came from the failure of the Heaven-Eating clan. Compared with the Terrans, the demons have broken away from the creatures of the 3 realms and 6 realms. The human world, the upper world and the fairyland of later generations are also created by the Protoss in order to prevent the demons. Originally, this is the beginning of the world. However, after watching the past life as fast forward, the 3 people's faces were not good for a moment. The reason is 3 people's present appearance, unexpectedly with that love and hatred in the fratricidal 3 people completely tallies. But the only thing that's scary is that Cloud Dance, heavenly daughter. The dragon is the most powerful man to devour the Protoss. But the day trace, unexpectedly is with that day female falls in love with the man who is killed. All this, how do you feel completely confused? Long Qingxia's face should be the ugliest. His fists were clenched together, and a touch of fear was brewing in his heart. In his first life, was it really like that? Subconsciously, he turned his head and looked at Yunwu. He even reached out and grabbed her hand, little thing I. But before he finished, his hand was suddenly caught by a hand. Along with the hand suddenly inserted, it's Tianchen. Always face expressionless day trace. At this time the mood seems to be extremely complex, but the faint anger in the eyes but obviously visible. Let go. 3 words, as if touched the heart of the dragon Qing evil, not put back a few minutes. Yunwu also had some ups and downs in her mood. No matter what she thought, she didn't expect it to be like this. However, in such a confrontation between the two, she turned away the hand of Tianchen. There's still time. Keep looking back. The sky trace looks at the hand that oneself is pushed aside. Don't know why, in the heart empty fall of, but also didn't say much. Long Qingxia looked at her, and his hand deepened a little. Meaning seems to express, he will not let go. Even if the original world is like that, he will not let go. How can Yunwu not feel it? To tell you the truth, she was a little confused at the beginning. However, when I was looking at him, a touch of meditation flashed through my mind. After a while she shook his hand and whispered, "Keep watching." Good. Long Qingxia nods. 3. Keep looking back. However, when the three just saw the residual spirits of the three, they all entered the Protoss again under the special spirit summoning of the Protoss, and were about to join the world again. The three were light and dark. There was no time to exclaim, and the three were forced out of the past. In the Book of Heaven, a strong light exploded. The three suddenly returned to this world. And also at that moment, all the static beams of light around the world were smashed in an instant. The killing on the earth is going on again. Yunwu, remember what you promised me. As soon as the light of the Book of Heaven disappeared, the woman's voice rang out again. However, it's weak. In the twinkling of an eye, the Book of Heaven seemed to become an ordinary book without any breath and fell to the ground. Cloud Dance and other three people are still buffering the dizziness of the past time and space that has been forced out. But they all heard that sentence very clearly. Cloud Dance and ease over, then go to the book to pick up the income of the space. Then get up and go in a certain direction. As for Long Qingxia and Tianchun, after looking at each other, they see a kind of two-phased disgust in each other's eyes. Before that, I have not. It seems that the past is the previous life, still left a trace of difference in their hearts. Where are you going? After Long Qingxia caught up with her, he took her hand and asked. Cloud Dance slanted to head to see him one eye. Renru he grasps her hand, tiny hook out away. Seek truth. Looking for the truth? Long Qingxia had some doubts, but it seemed that he suddenly thought of something. The evil in the corner of his mouth started up, and a touch of pet drowned in his eyes. You almost scared me to death. The meaning of this sentence is understood by both of them. A touch of light fit, invisible stirring in the middle of the two. However, Tianchun also came forward and grasped Yunwu's other hand. There was a trace of determination on his paralyzed face. I don't know the truth, but I won't go until then. This means that he wants to follow. To tell you the truth, this trip of three makes people feel strange. But they didn't exclude anyone. Maybe they all want to understand what's going on. Because if three people are really the source of this catastrophe, then everything will be solved. Three people volley toward a direction quickly. All we saw along the way were bloody killing battlefields. To tell you the truth, the three people have unbearable pity in their hearts. It's just no one did it. Cloud Dance leads the way. Half an hour later, the three finally came to the place of a college. However, at this time, the college has been dilapidated, and even cannot see the original feeling. However, the mountain leading to the inner college is still towering there, and even the border still exists. Today's Cloud Dance no longer need to open the border token, can also jump straight up. It's easy. It turns out that in my own eyes, the powerful barrier is so weak. It seems that in the face of strength, everything is really pale. As soon as they jumped up the cliff, an old and steady voice came. Girl, here it is. Smell reputation to Cloud Dance suddenly a lung. Old tower? Is the old man with white hair and wrinkles sitting on a huge stone like a petrified stone the old tower? Well, in order to protect this inner college, I've run out of lights. You can only hear the sound I left. I only ask you one thing. Ask her one thing? Yunwu looked at the old man. This time, he found that the old man sitting on the boulder had lost his breath and never opened his mouth. What's the matter? Protect this world for me. This is not. The place has not been invaded, because there is pity, and I protect the periphery, but I can't. The words behind seemed to be cut off by something. Did not wait for Cloud Dance to understand. That shrouded in the border around, want to be broken by what? Roar. A roar, like a beast but not a beast, came suddenly from below. Then there is a kind of scratching sound. Something's climbing up here? When they came, did they see the Protoss biting underneath. But Cloud Dance also hesitated, and a powerful spiritual power rose in the air, instantly replaced the just disappeared border. However, Yunwu three people don't know that at the moment when her spiritual power is lifted and shrouded around, the Protoss biting, who was climbing, seems to encounter something to be afraid of, quickly fade away. Of course no one saw that. Come on, let's go into inner college. Cloud Dance saw an eye tower old, astringent from the bottom of the heart that a silk strange. Then toward behind of two men say, Pity Huan. That little boy. It's time to meet. The boundary of the deep forest outside the college door for the three people is just a small toy, which can no longer constitute any obstruction. So, the three soon appeared at the gate of the college. However, in such a big inner college, it is cold and clear, and no one can be seen. What about people? That tower is always guarding here outside. Shouldn't there be any students in the college? But after three people turned around, they realized that the inner college was empty, and the tower old guard, just the sleeping little boy in the tower Pity Huan. Originally thought this matter Pity Huan can help. But now at this time, they all stood in the bedroom on the ground floor of the inner college training tower, quietly looking at Lian Huan who was floating in the air. He's not human. They trace and see Pity Huan of that moment, eyebrow wrinkly of say such a sentence. Long Qingxia glanced at him and said, It's so obvious that you need to say it. Well, the inexplicable smell of gunpowder is a little stronger. Seeing this, Yunwu just glanced at them, and then continued to look at the sleeping boy. In my mind, I flashed scenes of getting along with this guy when I was in inner college. What happened in the meantime? I mean, he's not human. He's a Protoss. Tianheng can't help but speak again. It's just that he's not sure about the answer. The breath of the Protoss? This words, but caused the Dragon Qing evil with Cloud Dance a little attention, slightly turned his head, looked at the day mark. What do you mean? Although he has a kind of animal breath, there is also a trace of Protoss breath. Otherwise, how can he suppress here when he is dead? Dead. Cloud Dance eyebrows suddenly askew. Can't believe to look up to that Pity Huan. You mean he has died? How can it be? She can still feel the existence of his breath of life clearly. How can yes, the body is dead, the soul it seems to be gone. The day trace after seriously saw an eye that Pity Huan, coldly say. Yunwu's face changed slightly. How can it be like this? At this time, Long Qingxia stepped forward, reached out and touched the convex stone in the middle, which was just the position of Liana Huan's body. His soul seems to be down there. Next, Yunwu hurried forward and touched the convex stone. And at that moment, a familiar spirit, light from the convex stone into her body. No wonder she felt Pity Huan's breath of life, which came from under the stone. It's just, what's under the stone? She had never heard of any place under the training tower before. Well, I don't want to talk about the strength of the slag before. Let's go down and have a look. Cloud Dance turns to say with Dragon Qing evil. Long Qingxia nodded. Two people close to the convex stone hand suddenly of force, immediately see the convex stone top was moved away. A dark hole suddenly appeared in front of them. And at the same time, the body of Liana Huan, which was floating in the air, was gradually breaking into pieces. Yunwu was surprised. What did he want to do? But Long Qingxia stopped her and said in a low voice, that body should be just condensed, not in the way. Tianchen also chimed in. Yes, as long as his soul exists, he can condense a body again. Long Qingxia gave him a gloomy glance. This now is to want to find the existence feeling in front of his woman? Originally, he was a rival of his level which could be completely ignored. However, since he saw the background of the original life, the face of Tianchen made him have a sense of crisis. He's always a little uneasy. It's like a kind of fear is brewing in the bottom of my heart. If in the previous life he was really the heaven eater, and Yunwu was really the woman of that day, what should he do? Let go? He can't do it. Even if he's dead, he can't let go. But in that case, will the previous life repeat itself? As soon as he thought of this, he could not help but flash the look of hatred in his mind, and his heart began to ache inexplicably. What a deep feeling that can lead to. He has the answer in his heart. It is because of the answer that he has this uneasy feeling of hesitation. Just he can't show it in front of her. In his eyes, Tianchen also seems to flash a touch of complexity, seems to have something, but some confusion. In the same way, he came to find an answer. It's just an answer that allows him to be sure of the flash in his mind. So all three decided to go into the black hole and have a look. I'll go ahead. This is Tianchen. He spoke first. With that, he didn't wait for Long Qingxia to say anything to Yunwu. He had already jumped down from the black hole, where only one person could enter. Dragon is the second. Yunwu was ranked third. One by one, they jumped down, and soon the three entered the black hole. But I don't know, just when the figure of the three disappeared in the black hole, a shadow in a corner of the human world suddenly opened his eyes. In the end, light a voice, soliloquy-like ring out. However, because of this, he still chose to get up from that deep sleep. Girl, I didn't expect that you finally came to this step. What can I say about you? Inside the black hole. It's a place like a vacuum. As soon as they enter, they are in a state of floating. It seems that no force can be used at this moment. However, there was no panic among the three, because just after three people entered, a soft light gradually rose around Ben's dark room. When the light around, three people can see the environment around. It's a palace of crystal structure. Everything around is resplendent, a place of luxury and nobility. However, what really attracted their attention was the crystal coffin placed in the middle of the palace. In the coffin lies a man with unusual facial features similar to dragon's evil spirits, in his early 20s, was as quiet as a deep sleep. And guard in that man's side of is a regiment with light ray coagulate of giant beast. The intrusion of the three aroused the attention of the giant. A breath of danger rose abruptly, but soon it disappeared. Because the faint light of the beast, at that time to see the clouds, it turned into a young figure. Pidia Huan. Cloud Dance, you come back here? It is no longer a lively and cheap voice of a young man, but a dignified and deep voice of an old man. However, the tone is still the boy who used to know Yunwu. Cloud Dance, when looking at that Pidia Huan, with the man lying in the coffin behind him, mood for a moment don't know how to describe. And the Long Qing evil with the day trace, also is the facial expression strange rise. Why are you here? This sentence is a rhetorical question of Yunwu. When she saw the man in the coffin, she had an answer in her heart. It's just that there are always some people who don't believe it. Or rather, she's a little overwhelmed. At the same time, there is also a kind of complex emotion brewing in the dragon's evil and Tianchen. The three people who just came back from the past space clearly remember. Who is the coffin insider? Tiannu and Tianchen, the first god of the Protoss, are the descendants of Tianzu. Times Tian. Shen is the name of the powerful heaven eater. Together, the two names were named by Shen at the beginning. It's just why is he here? After the death of the Protoss, the immortal body should be buried in the holy land of the Protoss. How can you fall into this world? However, at this time, the problem seems to be redundant. She wanted to find Liana Huan, hoping that he could help her to see if their last life was what she had seen in the past. Because of the cause and effect cycle, if you want to solve this catastrophe, you have to untie the bell and tie the bell. I didn't expect to see that. This is it. When the earth first wakes up, I wake up my memory, and I will return to my master to guard. Pidia, the voice of the old, low, gently came. There seems to be a fear of disturbing the people in the coffin. However, his words also explained why his human body was guarding outside. Is it true that the inner college, the inner 3 levels and the outer 3 levels of the boundary, from beginning to end, are all built to protect the immortal body? When I think about it seriously, it seems that this is really the only reason. The old pagoda seems to be the tomb keeper. Cloud Dance at this time the vision can't help but toward that person in the coffin saw a few eyes to resemble. It's almost true that it's a copy of Dragon's evil spirit, but it's also a little different. That is, there is a scar on his eyebrow, which seems to be branded by something. I do not know why. See the scar that moment. Her heart inexplicably flashed a trace of sour apology. Yunwu didn't know where the feeling came from, but she was afraid suddenly. As if some memory began to flash in my mind. But it's too fast for her to catch it. Subconsciously, the body wants to move back. But it was found that these three people were floating in the air like a vacuum, and their internal strength was eliminated. She had nowhere to go. But she this tiny movement. But let the dragon pour evil income fundus of the eye. Stretch out a hand. Bring her into the bosom. But when he felt the stiffness of Yunwu in his arms, he felt a stabbing pain in his heart. Don't be afraid, I won't be him. Soft voice, very quiet. However, listening carefully, it seems that you can hear the tremor. He of course refers to the original world, the one who forcibly took the daughter of heaven. The Sky Trace sees their action in the eye, brow deep lock. But he didn't say a word. After taking back their eyes from them, they fell on the people in the coffin. Tianshan, the first god of the Protoss, the first god of the human race. Why, he can have a kind of very strange mood to rise. Want to step forward. The body can't move, it can only float in mid-air. Liana Huan, I'm here to help you this time. Cloud dance convergence from the mind, seriously looking at the young figure. However, at this time of youth, but is a giant phantom of the soul. The expression is nothing, is familiar with the vitality, but a touch of vicissitudes and dignity. Help. Well, I just want to ask, can you see through the souls of the three of us? Pity a Huan smell speech, lift mouth to look at them 3-person good a while. Half ring, pity a Huan but shake his head. No, all three of you have the spirit power that has been specially covered up. You can't see through it. Cloud dance brow deep lock up. How could that be? Is there any way you can tell our past lives? Cloud dance continues to ask away. Yes. How? The cloud dances, the eyes brighten. Ask my master. This word's a fall. Cloud dance originally bright eyes suddenly sink down. He's not. When my master died, he left a ghost in the Kunlun mirror. You just need to go into the Kunlun mirror to know what you want to know. Kunlun mirror? Where is the Kunlun mirror now? Yunwu's question. Liana Huan didn't answer, but looked up to the direction of Tianqian. Along Lianawan's line of sight, Yunwu and Longqingxi's line of sight turned to Tianqian. In the Protoss Tianjing Pavilion. Kunlun Mirror is the place where the Protoss controls the reincarnation of the human world. This makes the three of them enter the Kunlun Mirror, which means then let's go back to the Protoss. Cloud Dance and Dragon Qing Evil look at each other and say. Then Cloud Dance all pity a Huan Wei. Can you send us to leave here? Pity a Huan nodded. But, didn't wait for Pity a Huan to start to work. The Day Trace actually opened a mouth for the first time. Wait, can we see your master's immortal body? As soon as these words came out, they were all stunned. What's the mentality? Pity a Huan smell speech, obviously see his brow a wrinkly. But the line of sight hovered around him and the dragon, as if looking at something. Half a ring. Only one person can come. You two choose for yourself. What do you mean? Long Qingxia frowned, but he didn't say he wanted to see it. To tell you the truth, his instinct is not to like the corpse that looks like him in the coffin. Even if that is what so-called first god, also same. Don't like, just don't like. However, he could not deny it. Two of them as like as two peas, who are almost identical to the girl they saw in the past. Of course, if it's right, this body is the son of the heavenly daughter and Shen. But I still hate it. The emotion in Long Qingxia's eyes is very obvious. Pity a Huan brow slightly wrinkled again. Seeing that the dragon had not opened his mouth, Tianhen said, just me, I don't think he's interested. But when his words fell, the dragon gave a cold hum. However, I didn't really take responsibility to fight with him. After all, he didn't really like to look at the body at close range. Pity a Huan after hearing speech, still swept the eye dragon to pour evil one eye. That look in the eyes, let a person not feel good. Madan, he just looks like a little bit. He's not a heaven eater. Do you need to look at him again and again? Are you sure you want him down? Pity a Huan asked. Well, I'm sorry. And also at that time, the figure of the god of heaven suddenly had the general gravity and suddenly fell downward. Very accurate, just fell on the side of the crystal coffin, not near or far. After Tianqian stood on the ground, His eyes fell on the coffin man. Nothing else happened. In that way, quietly looking at him for a long time, he slowly raised his head. Toward Pitia Huan said, "All right." Pitia Huan looked at him and nodded. In the twinkling of an eye, the sky trace figure has risen. While sending Yunwu 3 out of the black hole, Liana Huan suddenly stares at Yunwu and says, "I hope in the future, you don't break in without authorization. It will disturb my master." Say it. 3 people only feel in front of a body empty. When the time passed, the 3 had just stood outside the black hole, and the black hole was covered by the convex stone. Just then the broken and dissipated Pitia Huan's body floated over the convex stone, sleeping peacefully. Is it time to return to the Protoss? The sky trace turned head toward Cloud Dance to open mouth to ask away. Cloud Dance, but after deeply seeing Pitia Huan, just shook head. "Go back yourself." A word, but let the other 2 people are a zheng. Isn't it true that we need the Kunlun mirror of the Protoss to know the answer? Cloud Dance at this time. Turn ahead to see to Long Qingxia. "Can you leave first? I talk with him a few words." Dragon Qing evil smell speech, brow deeply locked, but finally he nodded. "I'll wait for you outside the college." With that, he couldn't help looking at Tianchen, then turned around and left first. Until he came out of the training tower. Yunwu slowly turned his head, swept the sky mark, and then continued to look at the body of Lianawan. However, she did not speak. Silence spread in the cultivation tower. Tianchen has been waiting for her to speak, but after waiting for a long time, he didn't know that she wanted to talk to him. But she was just sending Long Qingxia to leave first. "What do you want to do?" This words, say from the sky trace mouth, some inexplicable feeble feeling. Yunwu then turned his head and looked at him. And his voice was cold and indifferent. "What do you mean?" The sky trace frowns. Yunwu looked at him deeply for a long time, then reached out and touched the convex stone again. At that moment, the convex stone opened automatically. The black hole appears again. However, it's different from the dark, but it can be seen in the picture below. "Let's go down together," said A. Cloud Dance's figure first 1-step volley jumps down. This time, there is no obstruction in the air, and the vacuum is directly down to earth. After the Cloud Dance falls to the ground, the sky trace following behind also falls to the ground at the same time. This time, Pitia Huan didn't turn into you, but quietly surrounded by the crystal coffin. "Cloud Dance, you are still as smart as before." The old and deep voice came faintly. Cloud Dance slightly hooked lips a smile, looking at that Pitia Huan. "You said so obvious. How can I forget the secret between us at the beginning?" At the beginning, in order to take out the high-level martial arts secret script, what she traded with him was not just storytelling. A small agreement made between each other is known only between each other. So just after Liana Huan said that to her, she understood what he meant. If you ask him to come down with you, it seems that you know the answer you want. Pitia Huan that beast mouse saw I sky trace lo say. Cloud Dance nods. "But I want to make sure." Pitia Huan hesitated for a while, and then he closed his eyes. "The devouring Protoss is below. I only give you a time to burn incense." As soon as his words fell, he felt the breath of repression around him and suddenly disappeared. At that moment, originally shrouded in the atmosphere of repression within the college border, instant disappeared. As soon as he arrived at the gate of the inner college, Long Qingxia frowned. "What's the matter?" The disappearance of the boundary does not mean that what is happening inside. Cloud Dance. Thinking of his own woman, Long Qingxia is not calm. He turns around and is ready to return to the cultivation tower. Can just step out of the pace, but soon stopped. He should believe her. No matter what she does, he should believe her. This thought gradually took the place of his restless anxiety, and his steps took back. Just wait for her here. Wait for her. Therefore, Long Qingxia turned around again and stood at the door of the inner college, just like the seat door. As for the lower part of the inner college, the Protoss who had been set up by Cloud Dance to retreat. It seems to sense something. Unexpectedly, he began to roar excitedly, as if calling his companions nearby to invade towards the high mountain of inner college. The boundary of repression disappears, and the spirit of the Protoss rising from the sky, may not be seen in the eyes of ordinary people. However, in the eyes of those who devour the Protoss and even become high gods, it is a colorful light with extremely pure immortal chi, extremely attractive. At that moment, both hermits in the human world and experts in other worlds seemed to feel it. Even the divine breath went straight into the Protoss. This is it, like the breath of God. What's going on? In order to deal with the demons and the Protoss, some old men, who were in a mess, were shocked when they sensed the breath coming from the sky. After all, the first head of the Protoss, known as Shinzuan, has been immortal for tens of thousands of years. How can the breath of God suddenly rush to the Protoss? Is God not dead yet? Is it possible? If that is the case, then this catastrophe will be solved? A few old men in the heart of a joy. Quickly report the news to Tianzuan. No, we should go and see for ourselves. Yes, we will go in person. If Godzun is still alive, we should go in person and ask him back. What nonsense, hurry up. And the black hole at this time. Because Liena Huan temporarily closed the boundary of repression, the immortal body in the crystal coffin naturally sent out a flash of light. It's soft, it's calm. It's like he's really just sleeping, waiting for someone to wake up. Yunwu came forward and slowly stretched out her hand towards the scar on Shun's eyebrows that day. She seemed to feel that as soon as she touched something in her mind, it would stop. However, when she was about to touch the scar, her hand was stopped by another hand. Follow her hand and look around. Sky Trace. Cloud Dance looked at him. That beautiful face finally slightly raised a touch of radiance, very light, but very cold. It seems that you have something in mind. Day Mark brow is frowning, that always facial paralysis face, many a put-on complex. Why did you find out? As he spoke, he let go of her hand. However, it still prevented her from touching the body of the man in the coffin. Seeing this, Yunwu turned around and looked at him with her arms around her chest. Your Protoss, the master of human reincarnation, is just the appearance. Isn't it too simple for you, Protoss? But just now you were obviously a little against him. Tianhen's voice was a little low. Cloud Dance smell speech. Also seemed to understand before his silk strange. I'm afraid that man is a little sad. Stupid. However, in the face of the Sky Trace, she was still indifferent to hook her lips, rather than smile. That's because I'm not suitable for him. That face is like the people in the coffin. Why? It's the same appearance. Why do you still find it in such a short time? Are you really that sure? Tianqin's paralyzed face was stained with a touch of desolation. And the original pure breath of God also seems to surge up, a very unique breath. It's like it's coming from the bottom of the soul. Cloud Dance steps back a step slightly, but the face did not show half silk flustered, but light pick eyebrow, cold way. Don't you understand? Did you not understand why you destroyed yourself and turned into mountains and rivers to guard this land? When the words came out, everything was clear. The trace of heaven is Shun. Of course, to be specific, it should be regarded as the condensation of Shun's soul fragments. As for why Long Qingxia had such a beautiful face, this should be about to ask some old men of the Protoss. Cloud Dance is entering here. The flash in her mind is very vague. However, there are some outlines in her heart. It's no wonder that the Protoss must make her and the dragon poor evil, these two chessmen. Indeed, according to the source of this catastrophe, she is the original author of all this. And the dragon is the source of evil. But is Shin not responsible? I know. That's why I don't know. The Sky Trace eyes fall on the person in the coffin quietly. There was a trace of love in the desolate eyes. To tell you the truth, it's creepy. At least Yunwu doesn't like this kind of feeling. Because if we really want to count the initial life, aren't these three members of a family? Yunwu has become a mother herself. She knows that her mother has an inseparable maternal love for her children. However, she was really timid about the son, lying in the coffin. No, it shouldn't be her son. After all, she is no longer the heavenly daughter. Therefore, this tangled mind was soon converged. The past has passed. Since you say you don't know, don't mention it. Do you have any ideas about this catastrophe? Cloud Dance looks to the Sky Trace of Ask Away. Before that, he asked her what she wanted to do. How to turn it around, she asked him. Only you two can stop it. Don't you know that? Tianchen looks at her. There is a kind of complexity that can't be explained clearly. Just Cloud Dance hears speech but eyebrow frown rise. Then, the vision fell on the body of that coffin's wife. But Tianchen's body was blocked in front of her and said in a low voice, Tiannu owes him too much. Don't beat him. Let him rest in peace. This words, let Cloud Dance mind picture once again a flash. Some headache. But in the end Yunwu nodded and agreed. Okay, then you say what's your good way? No. I can't. I'll try what I did in my previous life. The sky trace says that words seem very calm. But the cloud dances but the corners of the mouth smoke. Is this man afraid? What does it mean to try the method of previous life? He is still the heaven eater. Forget it, no matter what the past life is. Just remember that the past life is the past life. And this life is the present life. Don't confuse it later. After that, Yunwu is too lazy to stay here. After all, the atmosphere here is a bit depressing. Moreover, since she could not touch Shen's body that day, she could not be sure what the memory flashed through her mind. However, it should be closely related to her guess. In that case, forget it. No more. But Yunwu didn't expect that as soon as she turned around and was ready to leave, a force of imprisonment from the air suddenly stopped her. What happened? Yunwu opened her eyes and wanted to turn her head, but she couldn't move. Tianchen, what do you mean? At this time, Tianchen came slowly towards her, but at this time, there was a diffuse gloom on her expressionless face. It's very light, but it gives people a deep feeling after some years. He went to Yunwu and slowly reached out his hand and gently stroked her fair and beautiful cheek. The cool touch doesn't seem offensive. Just Cloud Dance facial expression is unusual, however not good. Cold light rises in the eye. What do you want to do? Damn it. She didn't feel his sneak attack at all. What's the matter? Does he want to repeat the first life after his memory is restored? Tianchen's dark eyes were very deep, which made people confused about what he was thinking at this time. The hand caressing Yunwu's face didn't do much. Just like that, quietly pasted on her face, seems to have a kind of attachment. But soon he took back his hand. At this time, the emotion on his face has covered a cold. Is that all emotions have disappeared to the merciless? Don't worry, I won't do anything to you. However, for the sake of that man, you abandoned your husband and son, and even didn't hesitate to use your son to achieve your goal. I just want to make sure that your life is the same. You wait. I'll bring your son here. I want to see for myself how you choose between that man and your son now. That words, like a bell, suddenly sounded in the head of Cloud Dance. Shock Cloud Dance, for a moment only feel tinnitus dazzled. Half a day to digest the meaning of his words. When the reaction comes over, the figure of Tianchen has already left in the air at a strange speed towards the cave entrance. And she's settled. Tianchen. Yunwu's face changed and he yelled. The spirit power in her body also tried to break through the power that trapped her body. However, when she clearly felt that the power that trapped her began to loosen, the giant beast protecting the coffin has opened its eyes. And at that moment, the lost border suddenly rose again. Cloud Dance only feels that the power on the body suddenly disappears. Damn it. Pity Huan, come and help me. Cloud Dance can only hastily urge Chao Lian, a Huan, to ask for help. But which once thought, pity a Huan, but after looking at her body which was fixed, shook her head and said, Can't do it. There's nothing I can do about it. Untie the power of the border around you. I can break through the technique of imprisonment myself. Pity a Huan still shook his head and sighed. I have just told you that I will only give you a piece of fragrant time. When time goes by, I can do nothing. That makes Yunwu more anxious. Is she really going to be trapped here, and see with her own eyes that Chunjin takes dragon to threaten her with her son? Pity, Huan, even if you can't untie the border, can you help me to untie my trap? No, you can't be helpless, can you? Master's power, I really can't help it. With that sentence, Liana Huan seemed to be worried that she would ask for help from him again. He just closed his eyes and wanted to go to sleep. This son of a bitch. Yunwu was a little crazy when he looked at it. Especially when I think of going out that day. I may go to catch her son first, and I am very anxious. Although her son is protected by Nanganji, the strength of Tianqin is absolutely beyond Nanganji's control. Especially in such a turbulent period. Long Qingxia doesn't know if he will feel that she is trapped here now, damn it. But I don't know. At this time at the gate of the inner college, the dragon was not idle, and was eating the Protoss with a pair of these 5. These devouring Protoss are coming too quickly. Didn't give him time to react at all. In order not to disturb the women inside, Long Qingxia blocked them at the door. In fact, although the shape of biting Protoss is too ferocious and terrifying, they are all in human form. But it's bigger than a person. Rotten bones, ferocious image, plus too fierce and bloody, the standard is the representative of the villain. Moreover, the power of biting Protoss is too strong, and the self-healing ability of the body is too strong. Although the dragon's evil spirits can be stopped, they can't be eliminated at all. Why are you still in a daze? Come and help. As soon as he saw the appearance of Tianqin, Long Qingxia called out. However, he also noticed that the cloud dance behind Tianqin didn't follow. And she. On the one hand he confronts the biting clan, and on the other hand he is not embarrassed by the inquiry, but he can't get away for a while. But Tianqin didn't answer any of his questions. The eyes inexplicably deep looked at him. And then the figure quickly jumped up in the air, and disappeared in the air when Long Qingxia didn't react at all. Damn it, what the hell? Dragon Qing evil low curse. Heart bottom uneasy spread. What happened to Yunwu? He wanted to rush to the training tower immediately, but he couldn't get away without solving the 5 devouring Protoss. For a time, Yunwu was trapped, and Long Qingxia couldn't get away. Such a situation no one thought. Upper bound. Not far from the Phoenix, a big war has been going on for a long time. Nangong Yi and others are in this war. In the upper world, in a very short time, the devouring Protoss have invaded everywhere, and the only force that can resist is now gathered around the Phoenix. Phoenix became the only way to resist, because biting Protoss seems to be afraid of fire. However, although they are afraid of fire, they can't be killed by fire. So gradually, the Phoenix is the only way to have a safe rest for the time being, and the war revolves around the resistance of the Phoenix. If it goes on like this, I'm afraid it won't last long. Yes, those ghosts can't be beaten to death, and they seem to be tireless. If we go on like this, we really have no way back. Nangong Yi, Shangguan and others were sitting in the same camp at this time. Their faces were pale one by one. It was obvious that they were overused. This is the temporary camp place on the territory of the Phoenix people. It is also for those who resist in the front to return to a temporary resting place after excessive consumption. Now they can only use the will fight. Otherwise it would have been too expensive. At this time, Nanganji and Hongling retreated to have a rest. They and the Phoenix went to resist. Damn it. If only Yunwu and Longqing were together. Yes, if they're there, there's at least one direction, said Meng Bai. How could those present not know this? But at this time, they should be in the Protoss. Alas, they don't have time to call on the human world, but the situation in the upper world is so bad that the situation in the human world will not be optimistic. It's just that they don't understand. What the hell are these things? If it goes on like this, I'm afraid the world will really become hell. We'd better adjust our interests quickly, and then we'll exchange them for Hongling. Nanganji Low Road. Shangguan nodded, and then sat up on their seats. We started to adjust the interest rate. But at this moment, in the sky of the Phoenix clan, a figure suddenly appeared. Then, as soon as the powerful and strange power arrived, it immediately spread to the Phoenix below, as if it were exploring something. Buzz. As soon as the Fenghuang people who guard the sky see it, they immediately blow a dangerous horn. Someone's coming. Nangong Yi and others in a tent suddenly opened their eyes. It seems that there are foreign enemies. Go out and have a look. Soon, a few people went out of the tent, toward the direction of the horn. The trace of heaven stands in the air, strong and noble. As for the movement caused below, it was not affected at all, and the power of detection spread away again. Her son must be here. At this moment, the trace of heaven, the breath is no longer as sacred as it was in the Protoss, but has a strange twist. But it's not clear what it feels like. Soon, his eyes suddenly narrowed, and the corner of his mouth coldly curved. Then, the figure standing in the air fell from the air, and quickly went to the Holy Land of the Phoenix family. Who are you? Why did you break into the Holy Land of Phoenix when Feng Huang felt the crisis? She blocked the entrance to the Holy Land. The sky trace just lightly swept her one eye, then sink a voice way. Don't want to hurt, don't block my way. Feng Huang frowned and looked at him. Who are you? Your breath is very clean. Why do you want to break into the Holy Land of Phoenix? I am the saint of the Phoenix clan. You must give me a reason. I'm just looking for someone. I'm not going to fight you. To whom? Son of Yunwu. Sky Trace light mouth. Feng Huang's face suddenly changed. Who are you? Because of this fight against the ghost, in order to ensure the safety of Yunwu's son, Nangong especially sent him to the Holy Land of Phoenix. The high temperature and special holy pool in the Holy Land will not be invaded by the devouring Protoss for the time being. But unexpectedly, this bite Protoss has not killed to come in. This actually came such a man. As soon as he spoke, he said he wanted to find Yunwu's son. Obviously, he knew that the young master was in the Holy Land. Who the hell is he? For her question, Tianqin just glanced at her and didn't answer. Go on. A breeze swept through her face. There was no chance for Feng Huang to react. When Feng Huang came back, Tianqin came out with a boy who looked like a 2- or 3-year-old child in his arms. Yunwu twins have special physique. As long as they absorb enough energy, they will grow up quickly. It's strange, young Master Long Qinggu. He didn't repel this stranger. In his arms, he seemed very calm, even calm. He didn't look like a 2- or 3-year-old kid. You put him down, he's still a child. Feng Huang knew as a mother, knows what it's like for the child to fall into the hands of strangers, even if the child is cloud dancing. But Tianqin didn't pay attention to her. Instead, he looked down at the clever little boy in his arms and said in a low voice, How about I take you to your mother? The word mother is no stranger. Especially for a baby who has just been born and has the memory, he knows the meaning of his words better. So the young master nodded. Feng Huang see this, where willing figure a flash, want to grab back the child from the hands of the trace. But the shadow passed by. The maid of Phoenix is empty, and the figure of Tianqin has stepped away. Damn it, I told you to let go of the baby. In the angry voice, Feng Huang turns into the prototype, and the powerful power of the fire source instantly rises, and flies to attack the scar of that day. The sky marks the lips. Just about to give her a brush, she was stopped by a little fat hand. Don't hurt her. The sky trace eyebrow peak a pick, Lo Mao looking at the young master in the bosom. The eye in many a silk what, however, very is covered up very well. Give you face. Tianhen said with a faint smile. Then he saw the shadow of Tianqin turned into a remnant under a twist, and disappeared under the attack of Feng Huang again. From here, anyone can see the great disparity between the two. Feng Huang in front of the scar that day. Even the strength to touch the corner of his clothes cannot reach. What kind of definition is that? It's horrible. And such a man, do not know is the enemy is a friend. When Nangong arrived, what he saw was the picture that the figure was distorted and disappeared. And everyone, naturally, noticed the young master in his arms. At present, several people's faces changed. When Tianqin returned to the inner college of human world again, the sky had been covered by a divine light. And under that light, all the devouring Protoss around the human world seemed to be attracted by some delicious food. It's all going crazy towards that position. The scene Tianqin saw when he returned was that under the towering inner college, he was surrounded by a large number of devouring Protoss. Because of the border, they can only spin below impact. But when the devouring Protoss sensed the appearance of the sky trace, the movement below stopped. Then he saw a biting Protoss roaring with his head raised. The roaring sound almost came towards him with sound waves. If not prepared early in the morning, I'm afraid I will be attacked and fall down. In addition to fearing fire, the Protoss eater has another drawback. It can't fly. In order to make up for this shortcoming, the devouring Protoss can only attack the prey from the air with roaring sound waves. What a disgusting cry! Young Master's voice, accompanied by discontent. However, he was not affected by the sound of the call, and his face was still calm and expressionless. The Sky Trace sees this, rather pick eyebrow. Is it because of their blood? So he's not afraid of the devouring Protoss at all? However, Tianqian didn't stay there for long, so he directly flew to the border. His direct entry into the border led to the movement of the border, provoking the following pieces of biting Protoss, also began to more intense impact on the border. The news spread all over the inner college. However, it seems that the devouring Protoss can't break through the border in a short time. Now, on the cloud above the inner college, there is a big wave of people standing. No Protoss. They were watching the fight between Dragon Qingxia and the two remaining Protoss, and they didn't make a move, even just watched the play. And the divine light around the college in this film is really emitted by their appearance. Protoss. This is the Protoss. Although Long Qingxia was in a mess, he didn't let himself fall into the disadvantage at all. As for the cold look of the Protoss coming, he just gave a sneer in his heart. Devouring the Protoss, it is not impossible to kill. Just cutting off their heads is enough to kill them. This was just discovered by accident. However, the neck of biting Protoss is very hard. With his strength, he can't cut off several knives in succession. This is why there are still two unsolved problems. When he saw Tianqian coming back, and he was holding his son in his arms, he suddenly felt some uneasiness. At that moment, the dragon's evil power broke out. Regardless of whether the biting Protoss would hurt their own family, they rushed over and chopped down the necks of the two biting Protoss. He went straight to the sky with the stench of blood. Give me my son back. Kende trace but direct hand pinches on the small young master's small neck. You had better not approach, otherwise, I accidentally twisted his neck. I am afraid you will be distressed to death. Damn it. His despicable behavior stopped the dragon's action, but it also made the dragon angry. Especially when he saw his son's face turn blue. He was even more angry, but he did not dare to move. What's the matter with you? What do you want to do? The change of this day's scar is much different than before. He was in the tower with Yunwu. What did he talk about? What's the matter with Yunwu now? Long Qingxia is worried. Tianqian seems to ignore the Protoss standing on the cloud, but looks at the dragon and the light way. Just curious about one thing. Don't you wake up the power of the Dark Emperor? If you don't want your son to suffer, release your dark power to the maximum. Let go of the power of the dark? What do you mean? At the beginning, Mei told him that once his dark power was overused, he would be assimilated by the dark power. Therefore, in general, he tries to avoid using the power of darkness. But this trace actually took his son to coerce him to release the maximum power of darkness. What is it for? You don't want to? Or dare not? If you don't choose, I'll, said the sky trace, that pinches the young master neck's hand, more forced a few minutes. Asshole. It was just a few months old. Long Qingxia was distressed, and his face turned white. He wanted to rush to stop him, but he moved forward, and the strength of Tianqian became heavier. Seeing that his son's face was not right, Long Qingxia couldn't take care of it anymore. Okay, you let go and I'll do what you say. As soon as he finished speaking, he sank into the elixir field, the dark power in his body. Don't play tricks. I want you to release as much as possible, not to deliver a little. At this time, the voice of Tianheng was much lower and colder. Long Qingxia's face changed. However, seeing that he seemed to loosen his hand a little, his son was angry and crying. He finally gave up. He cannot be afraid of any stronger enemy than him, but he cannot watch his son strangled. In that case, he will see what he wants to do that day. At that moment, Long Qingxia suddenly raised his head and drank. A thick dark breath suddenly rose from his body. After a while, the bright sky began to grow dark. The smell of darkness gradually shrouded in the sky. But it's not enough. The sky trace looks at that whole person, as if already sending out the dragon that black fog comes out to pour evil. Continue to cool mouth. Not enough, continue to release. After that, You can see the dark power in the dragon's body rising again. Dark clouds roll in. It seems that there is a sense of terror that is about to be shrouded in darkness. That's the power of the dark. It should be said that the real power of darkness. And the dragon Qingxia shrouded in the black fog could not see clearly. Just can clearly feel. His strength has not reached the bottom line. He can also reach another realm. Not enough, go on. Tianqin continues to speak. In the black fog, the dragon's eyes had changed from golden eyes to red blood. It seemed that he was supporting something, and his whole body was full of a terrible darkness. However, Tianqin's words let him continue to dig out the dark power in his body. He doesn't know what he can achieve, but he knows that he hasn't reached the limit. And that day Mark also seemed to be able to see through where his limit is. For the sake of his son, he can only continue. Just don't know why, he seems to be releasing too much strength. Some of his body is not controlled by himself, but it continues to release the power of darkness. What were you doing that day? How can he let the Dark Emperor release his power, so that the devouring Protoss hasn't been sealed back? Isn't it a waste? Several old men among the gods in the sky frowned when they looked at the situation of the human world. This can seal the devouring Protoss. It can only be the combination of the power of the Witch Saint and the Dark Emperor. But this day Mark let Dragon Qingxia release the power of darkness. The power released is equal to the power used. Even if it can be recovered, I don't know how much time it will take. What the hell is he doing at this critical moment? However, although several old men were angry, they also noticed one thing. Did you find that the Dark Emperor was too powerful? The power of darkness is coming to the Protoss. He has not reached the limit yet. It's too powerful. Will it be difficult to control in the future? In this case, several old men were worried about this problem. Protoss. How selfish is it? And just under the pervading of the dark power, the dark clouds that were just surging in the inner college seemed to spread in all directions. It's like a precursor of heavy rain, with dark clouds and low air pressure. The devouring Protoss, who were rampant in the human world, began to bend down like a gentle man, half kneeling on the ground, with their heads on the ground. As long as it's where the dark power clouds are, all devouring Protoss will react in this way. What happened? The Terrans who are fighting on the battlefield are all stupid. What's the situation? Is it the power of the god not long ago? However, because of this, humans can take a breath of time. Gradually, dark clouds began to appear in the upper bound, and the situation was similar to that of the human world. Then fairyland. The three realms are gradually shrouded in strange dark clouds, but under such circumstances, the devouring Protoss seems to have been suppressed and settled down. However, they are still alive. But this scene has brought hope of life to the people in the three realms. When Tianqin looked at the situation around him and felt almost done, he just brushed his hand in the direction of the cultivation tower. Go on. A force immediately in the tower, as colorful light, straight into the sky. At that moment, the sky that has been watching the gods, and finally something. That's the breath of God. It's like it's coming from that tower. Go and meet Shinzuan. The Protoss gods began to want to step down to meet their first god. But when they find out that they are trapped by something as soon as they enter the dark cloud, the faces of the gods changed greatly. What's going on? At this time, the training tower suddenly exploded and opened. Then a tiny figure, like the hell of the Rosha, leaped out with anger and killing. Tianqin. Angry shouts spread all over the sky. But when she saw the sun in Tianqin's arms and the dragon who was completely shrouded in the black fog, her face was completely gloomy and angry. What is beautiful and pure? At this moment, the only thing that emanates from her is the violent killing. Do you really want to push me? Cloud Dance angrily looks at the sky trace. Looking at her son's neck pinch marks, she probably guessed what was going on. This day Trace, take her son to coerce her man unexpectedly. Come to coerce her again now. Good. That's great. He really can push her to the extreme. After looking at the direction of the dragon's evil, Tianqin turns his head and looks at Yunwu, and says, I told you before, you can only choose one of the two. That words let Cloud Dance facial expression thoroughly cold sink. One of two? She has said before that her life is only in her own hands, and is never threatened by anyone. However, when it happened, she knew that she was not as smart and decisive as she had imagined. A son of his own, a man of his own. She will never give up. So as soon as his words fell, she snatched out the Guwu sword in the air and attacked Tianxin. Before I die, I'll bury you with me. The voice of gloomy anger came from hell, very gloomy. It seems that Tianheng didn't expect that she should make such a choice. No, she has no choice. She still follows her heart. When looking at the cloud dance that hit him without hesitation, the trace of heaven didn't know what he thought of, but he began to smile like that. Just that smile has too much bitterness. Unexpectedly, no matter how many reincarnations, in the end, your choice is still the same. The light voice of Tianxin spreads. Then he saw that he didn't dodge for a while, and that Ren Ruyun's attack fell on him. After the knife fell, Tianhen's body was smashed like glass, and the young master in his arms also disappeared as a white fog. Children are virtual. At that moment, Yunwu was not surprised, because she had heard her son's voice from somewhere. However, when she saw the faint light of that day's scar, she suddenly seemed to understand something. The original angry killing gradually subsided. However, the indifference in the eyes, but still as light looking at the debris of the sky. You are not Shen. This sentence comes from Cloud Dance. Shen refers to the most powerful heaven eater in the first generation. It seems that the fragmented traces of heaven are beginning to solidify again. However, when he became a man again, he was not the same as before, but is as like as two peas in the middle of the training tower. There are 9 images with dragon. The scar on the forehead is very eye-catching. Tianxin, the son of Tian Nu and Shen, the first god of the Protoss. What's going on? Maybe we should start from the time they entered the inner college. Because at that moment, I remember who I am. It's just that this identity is too unacceptable for him. But it's just like fate. No matter what he wants to change, everything will still follow the track. When you see the appearance of Tianxin Benzin, Yunwu is not very surprised. At most, it was less of the killing atmosphere before. He looked at him indifferently. Why Tianxin didn't answer Yunwu's question. Just in his eyes looking at her, there was a little more sad luster. I said, just want to see how you choose. Cloud Dance looked at him, frowned. I'm not her, you should distinguish this. I know, but I'm not reconciled. Tianxin looked at her, and said with a bitter smile, this conversation is very awkward. But it's not over. The gratitude and resentment of the previous life have continued into this life. Sometimes, it is because of the causal cycle of the previous life. Whether you admit it or not, it is the previous lives of the two of you that create today's catastrophe. Let go of your obsession and stop this catastrophe. Tianxin looked at the Cloud Dance and said, Cloud Dance smells speech. In looking at the other side has fallen into don't know what situation of Dragon Qing evil, seem to understand his ultimate goal is what. However, this time she was not angry. Perhaps she is not the daughter of the previous life. However, there is still a hatred obsession in her soul, which belongs to the soul of the heavenly daughter. This obsession seems to be the key to lead this catastrophe. But do you really want to sacrifice yourself for the sake of the past life? Yunwu thinks that she is not so generous. She is so selfish that she can ignore anyone's life as long as the people she cares about live well. However, this Tianxin made her have a little hesitation. Maybe it's because of his identity, the son of Tianv. This son's composition, even if not much, but after all there is a trace of weight. Therefore, Yunwu was silent after hearing the words. There is not much time. His power has been released completely. If his power dissipates, there will be no room for rotation in this catastrophe. Tianxin's words are like a duck on the shelf, aren't they? He made her have no choice. Cloud Dance's brow deeply wrinkled. Eyes have been looking at that Daishin for a while. Finally, she just light toward him said, I will stop you, but you are the first god. You have to promise me one thing. Don't worry. I'll take care of your daughter and son. Tianxin said. However, Yunwu shook his head. I'm not talking about this. The Daishin pour is a lung. That what matter? Get rid of that scar on your forehead. Yunwu looked at the scar on his forehead. A god can absolutely eliminate any scar. But he only left the scar. Although the picture flashed through her mind was very vague, she also felt that her only guilt for Tianxin came from the scar. She didn't want to think of anything, because she was no longer the daughter of heaven. But he said that there was still obsession in her heart. At the same time of eliminating obsession, by the way, she could eliminate a trace of guilt that did not belong to her. After hearing this speech, Tianxin was shocked. In the eyes that wipe complex rise again, some unclear looking at the cloud. What scar stands for is clear in his heart. She said to remove the scar. Is to smooth her guilt for him? Don't look at me like that. As I said, I'm not the heavenly daughter. If you promise, I will promise you to stop this catastrophe. Cloud Dance said coldly. Looking at the indifference of Cloud Dance, Tianxin smiles again, still a kind of inexplicable and bitter smile. But it's better than before. Well, I promise you. What he wants to protect is the world he created. She, want to protect is always only her heart care about those people. And he was never one of those people in her heart. Maybe, I can't expect anything. After Tianxin nodded and agreed, Yingwu didn't say anything to him, but went straight to the dragon in the black fog. The power of darkness repelled her approach. However, she was determined not to retreat step by step approaching. At this time, a cry came from a place at the foot of the mountain. Mom! Son. Hearing the cry, the steps of Cloud Dance. Subconsciously, she looked in the direction of the crying voice, but she knew that her son was in a small space torn by Tianxin. At least he's safe. In fact, she really can't do anything to sacrifice herself for the sake of righteousness. But Tianxin was right about one thing. What she cares about will always be the people she cares about. For them, she can be fearless. What's more, at this moment, the dragon has fallen into the evil. Therefore, Yunwuzai looked in the direction of crying for a long time, then resolutely took back his sight, and continued to walk towards the dragon. Son, live well. Perhaps, the existence of this world is not bad, at least in this world, there are too many she cares about. However, when entering the black fog of Dragon Qing evil, a book with dark color was thrown away. One last thing for me, get my daughter back. The cool voice came from the black fog, and the figure of Cloud Dance disappeared in the black fog at the same time. Last time, because of him, she let her daughter fall into the crack of time and space. Even the Book of Heaven could not find out her daughter's position. If the world recovers, at least let her children get together. When Tianxin raised his hand, the Book of Heaven fell into his hands. He raised his eyes and looked into the dark fog. He said after half a sound, I promise I will help you find her. And just as his words fell, a white light rose in the black fog. It's different from the power of breaking through the gate of heaven. This time, the power is full of death and vitality. The two are intertwined with each other. As soon as they die, one is black and the other is white. They gradually begin to form an array like 8 trigrams between heaven and earth. The array of this power penetrates the 3 realms and goes straight to the Protoss. My power is disappearing. Damn it, mine too. Before that, the gods, who were imprisoned by other clouds and could not move, all changed their faces. They never thought that this time they just wanted to meet the god, but they fell into such a situation. In fact, everything is doomed. The Protoss can't escape the responsibility of this catastrophe. With the power of the gods, the 8 trigrams array gradually spread out, and quickly began to cover the whole 3 worlds. I can only see. The gods who were imprisoned in the air, with the power of evacuation, gradually began to gray hair, vicissitudes up. But it's not over yet. The vast land needs more strength. The extraction under the 8 trigrams array does not stop until it is satisfied. After the gods were evacuated, their bodies were about to dissipate. Damn it. This time, are you here to die? They are the Protoss above. Why did they become like this? However, at this time, the gods could not say a word. It was like an old man who was about to be drained of blood, leaving his last breath. Tianxin has been watching coldly and has not intervened. He knows that this is what the array needs. If the strength is not enough, It is impossible to eliminate the devouring Protoss under the clean earth. However, why only absorb the power of the gods alone? I'm afraid Yunwu did it intentionally. However, the attitude of the Protoss is too self-esteem and too high. Maybe it's time to exchange blood for the Protoss. Tianxian just stood on one side, indifferent to all living beings. But when the sky was torn open, a tall figure with many heavenly soldiers fell from the air, wanted to rescue the dying gods. However, when he saw Tianxian, Emperor Zun was stunned. Godfather? Emperor Zun is not sure of a call. However, Tianxian just glanced at him lightly, then drew back his eyes and continued to look at the power array. Such reaction made Emperor Zun uncertain. However, at this time, seeing that the gods of the Protoss were about to be unable to support themselves, Emperor Zun did not care about anything else, so he took the heavenly soldiers to rescue the gods. Bang! A loud noise blocked the actions of Emperor Zun and others. Everyone looked to heaven. Just now that strength breath is the god Zun. Emperor Zun looked at Tianxian again, looking a little excited and surprised. God Zun, it's really you. You're still alive. Tianxian slowly raised his eyes and gave him a look, but his voice said coldly, your father has handed over the Protoss to you. For thousands of years, you have managed it like this? What? Emperor Zun hears speech, not quite understand. He thought that after taking over the Protoss from his father, he was very dutiful and everything was in order. However, in the eyes of God Shen, I do not know why, Emperor obviously flashed a touch of guilty. It seems that God told him that God would make mistakes. He has been closed for several days. He just keeps thinking, but he really can't understand what mistakes he has made. Is it for those two evils? If that was the case, he didn't feel that he was wrong from the beginning to the end. They should have been punished by the Protoss. If it were not for them, this catastrophe would not have been buried in the world. Shinzuan, I really don't understand what I've done wrong. When Tianxian heard the words, he just glanced at him faintly. You really don't know what mistakes you have made? Emperor Zun wanted to nod his head, but at this time, a familiar power suddenly came out of the Protoss he had just torn apart. Tianzuan 1. That is the power of the Protoss after the sacrifice of the god. And it is precisely because of that power that the Protoss can remain unchanged when they are attacked by the demons and the Heaven Eaters at the same time. But now that force is beginning to pour out. What's going on? In full view of the public, the gods see that the power is like a life, automatically toward the center of the power made by the dragon and cloud dance. Heaven Emperor Zun couldn't help shouting, his heart was sour. His brother. But the power still poured into the array without hesitation. When Tianxian saw this, his expressionless face finally flashed a trace of satisfaction, and he said faintly, in this way, it can be regarded as a god. The words of Tianxian seemed to make the power of Tianzuan, who had just poured into the array, feel general, and began to condense into a faint human form. Tianzuan, in the illusory human form, raised a respectful smile and bowed to the sky. Then, after looking at Yen Dizuan, the disappointment in his eyes couldn't be concealed. He didn't say anything, just left a sigh, and then turned into strength again and integrated into the array. This scene puzzled the gods. Why? Isn't the sacrificial power of the god for protecting the Protoss? Emperor Zun was in Tianzuan's last disappointment, and the whole person was stunned. Why do you look like this again? Why don't you even want to say the last word to him? Emperor Zun really didn't understand that since he was in charge of the Protoss, the punishment was clear, except for the two evils. Is it just because of those two evils that he denied all his achievements? He has been closed for several days. He really can't understand what's wrong with him. The world can't understand the mystery of life and death, but as an emperor, don't you understand this truth? Tianxian looked at Emperor Zun and said faintly. Unfortunately, Emperor Zun seems to be more confused at this moment. Forget it. There is a certain number in the dark. At last, Tianxian looked at Emperor Zun and the gods and shook his head. Then he turned around and gradually turned into a translucent figure, and floated back to the training tower. The trace of heaven is just his illusory identity. Everything, perhaps, is between the origin and extinction. Alas, another sigh. Tianxian disappeared in the training tower. In a short time, it seems that only the trapped gods, Emperor Zun and his heavenly soldiers are left in the whole world. Protoss, the superior Protoss. At this moment, I felt a desolate taste for the first time. In the world of 8 trigrams, everything stops. The two people in the center of the 8 trigrams array seem to be separated, but they complement each other. Both lie in the center of the array with eyes closed. The power that supports the array comes from their lives. As the array grows bigger, their breath of life becomes weaker and weaker. However, at this time, there was a faint cry from the children, and it became louder and louder. It's like taking your parents on the last leg. The world is supported by them at this time. And as the god of the world, he was watching coldly. I don't know who broke the peace. See, a road originally still high above of God, at this time is slowly toward the array and go. God. They are the gods of the world. They think that they have created the human race and created everything in the world. They are the noble gods who dominate them. But it is such a high above, I do not know when. Let them gradually forget some of the most basic things as God. Compassion, protection, sacrifice. Those are what a god should have. They have forgotten. Emperor Zun looked at the behavior of the heavenly soldiers behind him. His brows were locked up, and he wanted to stop it. Can just want to open a mouth. In the mind flashed the sky. Zun just see his that disappointed look in the eyes, with the sigh that the ear side reverberates. As the heavenly soldiers enter the array one by one, the spread of power in the array is much faster. Fearless, fearless. One by one, no one spoke a word. Until then, only the emperor stood alone in the air. More and more power is stored, and the array light is more and more intense. However, it seems not enough, because the array is still trying to absorb power. Now, people in the 3 realms seem to feel that the array shrouded in heaven and earth needs some strength. Some people are willing to give their meager strength. Human nature may have bad roots, but most people are still fearless to sacrifice for what they want to protect. More and more people in the 3 circles are dedicating themselves. Because of absorbing the power of people from all ethnic groups, the array began to appear a bit of dazzling color. However, it doesn't affect the array. On the contrary, it seems to be more and more powerful. Down and suppressed, the Protoss biting seems to feel something and begin to struggle against it. However, the more powerful the array is, the more powerful the suppression will be. Do you feel it? It's the power of the cloud dance and the dragon. I feel it. They seem to be rallying forces. It seems to be the last step. Let's go and do our best. Go. The upper boundary is within the Phoenix clan. Nangong Yi and others are talking with each other. After that, he did not hesitate to give all his strength. Human world. I said earlier that my granddaughter would be the pride of the Cloud family. She did it. The old Yunchi looks up at the array power in the sky with a proud face. Around is Cloud Cold E, that has always been a cold face of an incompetent father. At this time, even if he was injured, he was also very proud. Yes, she is the biggest pride of the Cloud family. Come on, take my granddaughter on the last leg. Yunchi said with a smile. Yunlingyi nodded, okay. And behind them, Bai Qing Shui and other Yun family killers and soldiers all have a fearless smile on their face. Vow to follow, miss. Following the young lady is their mission. They feel very honored. It seems that Emperor Zun never thought that he would see such a scene. Are the 3 realms, no, the 4 realms, including the Protoss, willing to sacrifice themselves? What's wrong with that? The power of those 2 evils, together with the power of their children, is enough to seal and devour the Protoss. But why is it like this? Those 2 evils, what are they doing? With such a huge array power, do they want to completely destroy the devouring Protoss? Is it possible? The devouring Protoss came down from the earth. And how many devouring Protoss there are under the earth? Even the Protoss are not known. Can they be so sure? But Emperor Zun was really surprised by the increasing number of people who joined the array in succession. It can even be said to be shocking and unbelievable. Isn't Terran selfish? Why did this happen? Is he really wrong? The shock in his heart seemed to strike Emperor Zun and make him white in an instant. God, am I really wrong? Emperor Zun inquired into the void. He knew that Tianxian could hear him. However, he still did not wait for an answer. The emperor did the same to him. Even the gods of the Protoss for the first time. Emperor Zun stopped asking himself why. Because he wants to find the answer himself. To find out the answer he has not been able to understand. Emperor Zun walked into the array slowly. And at that moment, the array, which had been absorbing strength, suddenly seemed to have got the power of perfection, and suddenly burst out with a dazzling light. It directly enveloped the four realms. In the dazzling white light, with a strong power. The earth began to wither rapidly at that moment. All creatures seemed to be shattered in the light, including the devouring Protoss. It seems that everything has returned to the initial desolation, until life is coming again. The barren land, as if once again stepping into the traces of fate gear, as fast forward and began to copy growth, it's all coming back along the gears. However, this time in the fate of the gear, there is no longer the existence of the heavenly daughter. Therefore, the devouring Protoss has never existed in this world. The light dissipates, everything in the world returns. All disasters are just like a dream. How strange, and some familiar traffic sound, vaguely hovering in the ear. On the bed, a small figure moved. It hurts. Headache. It's a pity that Yunwu is waking up. This bloody story happened to her. After hearing the words, Yunwu just glanced at Naya, and then her eyes fell on the woman beside Naya. That gentle water, beautiful familiar face, is not that Sanfeng. In the killer organization, she has cooperated with her the most times, so she has a better relationship than her team members. Wufeng, come here and do it. Look, this smile of face, gentle call, just like a friend, not unfamiliar. As for the other two men and women, they just nodded when they saw her, and then they didn't have too many emotional fluctuations. Being a killer seems to be more arrogant. Even indifference. But Yunwu didn't go with Sanya and Sanfeng. Instead, she sat on the side of the corner, indifferent as ice. So many people are needed to discuss the task. Light words, not to face. However, it seems that people in this field are used to her temper. Codename Doctor. In addition to killing, she also has superb medical skills, enough to make other team members can only look up to. However, the words of Cloud Dance made you frown. Today, how dare she brush his face in public? It put him in a bad mood. Sanfeng just said softly. Today's boss told us to move ahead of tomorrow's task. This task is. However, before she finished speaking, Yunwu interrupted coolly. Just tell me a few points and don't waste my time. This time, Sanfeng's face flashed a trace of gloom. Such arrogant behavior really does not give people face. The other four just glanced at them and kept silent. Their task this time is just to help them, nothing else is their business. In that case, come to Villa in the suburb of XX at 3 o'clock in the morning. 3 Phoenix Convergence, different color, tone of voice, gentle say. It's the same as before. The cloud danced coldly and raised the corner of his mouth, stood up, neatly turned and left towards the door. As for the people behind her, she did not consider them. Anyway, the damned people will go to hell in the morning. The 3 phoenixes in the private room keep from clenching their fists in the dark, and the coldness passes by from the bottom of their eyes. It's just that she's very good at covering up. As for Ya, his face will not be very good. An adopted daughter, even to his face, is really hard. Wings, do not get rid of. No. Out of the box, Yunwu didn't stay much, but left directly towards the gate. She can't like the environment here. But I just got to the hall. A small figure in a hurry suddenly ran into her head-on. The clouds frown. The lights are too dim, there are too many people and the sound is too noisy. However, an apology was still in her ears. It was a teenage girl. She was very beautiful. She didn't even look like a girl who would go in and out of such venues. After the girl apologized, she rushed past her and ran to the gate. But as soon as I got to the door, I was blocked by 3 big men. Regardless of the girl's struggle, one of them picked her up and went back to the bar. Let go of me, I don't sell. Help? Under the loud music, Yunwu could still hear the girl's cry clearly. In this kind of bar, this kind of situation is actually very common. All sorts of dirty things are happening in the dark. It's just who cares? Even the police need to pay attention to evidence to file a case. However, the general people who do this kind of thing, how can they have no background or cards? The man was impatient with the girl's struggle, but he didn't hurt her. Instead, he led her to the box. Yunwoo is not a person who likes to meddle in his own business. If he is ordinary, he just looks on coldly. Just don't know why. That girl just looked to her for help in the eyes, let her some hard to draw. So familiar. But there was no memory of the girl in her memory. However, when she reacted, her steps still went in that direction. Box 203. It's a coincidence to scan the number of the box in 202 next door. The sound insulation in the wing room is very good. I can't hear what's going on inside. Therefore, Yunwoo directly pushed open the box, as if entering his own door. I thought that I would see a picture of a wretched old man forcing a girl. But why the painting style is unexpected. A handsome man is spoiling the girl, and feeding her sudden entry interrupted the two people in the room. A wise man can see what she seems to have misunderstood just now. So Yunwoo said calmly, "Sorry, wrong way." Then turn around and get ready to leave. Wait, sister, help. But suddenly the girl cried. And then, like crazy, struggling to get up from the man's arms. "Silver, if I don't behave, I'll be angry." The man hugged her waist and said in a low voice. However, one of the doting but cannot hide. But the girl wanted to cry and struggled. "I don't want to eat, just let me go. My money has been returned to you. What else do you want? I don't want to get married when you're 20. The man's unquestionable mouth. The girl shook her head fiercely. "I don't want to marry you. Let me go." "Say it again?" The man's voice is low. The girl was afraid. "Sister, help me." The man squinted. "Silver." The girl wants to cry. "Sister, help." Standing at the door, Yunwoo turned to look at the man and woman and frowned. These two people are obviously a couple. In such a situation, she should not interfere. So she turned around and was ready to leave, but then "Mom, help." That call let Cloud Dance's step directly froze, before that wiped to smoke to lift again. "Mom." She Cloud Dance deep lock brow of turn head. The first time eyes deep fall on the girl. As soon as the girl saw Yunwoo turning her head, she immediately cried out. "Mom, help, this man is really a bad man. He forced me to marry him." A teenage girl called a woman in her 20s mother. It's really weird. Even the man in the black suit had a black face. "Silver, stop it." The girl called Xiaoying didn't give him a bird at all, but a pair of fine relatives, tears straight to the clouds. "Mom, help me." She didn't know why. She always felt that this beautiful woman would be able to save her from the sea of suffering. Mother, 2 words, she just shout out. It seems to be smooth. Cloud Dance secretly takes a deep breath, just didn't let oneself show a different look. The girl's breath was very common. She didn't have the dark breath of her daughter. She didn't look like her. In fact, this may just be the girl's casual cry. However, Cloud Dance still turns around. Just think she's crazy. A languid dress, but emitting a cold breath of Cloud Dance, came to the two men. "Let her go." 3 words, very cold, but also with a trace of grim momentum. This woman is not simple. Black suit man. In the moment of Cloud Dance, suddenly a sense of crisis rose. However, it is impossible for him to let go of his women. No way. The same 3 words, the same momentum. To tell you the truth, this man's aura is very strong, some different, similar to ordinary people. But from this man, he didn't feel special. He is just an ordinary man. But a mortal has such an aura, which means that he must be the best among mortals. If it wasn't for the mother, she would never have stepped in. But now that I'm involved, I'll do it to the end. The slender hand held the girl's arm, and a strange force shook the man's hand on the girl's waist. One pulled up and pulled the girl behind him. "Don't force her if she doesn't want to." Finish saying. Also don't bother to pay attention to the man. That stunned frown of facial expression. Take the young girl to want to leave. She is my woman. If you dare to take her away, you are against Dixing. Dixing? Why do you sound familiar? I've been away from modern times for a long time, and I don't remember some things. But even if I've heard of it, so what? No one can stop the people she wants to take away. Even if she doesn't have the power of witches awakening in mainland China, with her killer skills, few people can stop her. What's more, even she didn't know how much power she had. Anyway, when she woke up, she obviously felt that her strength had not dissipated, but seemed stronger. It's impossible to experiment, and she doesn't know what level she's reached. The door. Suddenly, several bodyguards in black appeared, blocking the door with no expression. Be careful not to hurt Silver. Dixing cold sink mouth. Yes, a few bodyguards respectfully return away, then started toward Cloud Dance. I thought that a woman in her 20s would be more than enough for a few tough bodyguards, even if she had some skill. But nobody thought of it. Yunwu's hand is just a few seconds. Several valiant bodyguards fell to the ground so quietly that they didn't even have the chance to see others. Girls see this, looking at the eyes of Cloud Dance will be Red Heart. How powerful and handsome. Dixing's face sank, and then she seemed to understand that this woman was really not simple. Internal skill? From her, he felt a little internal fluctuation, but it seemed different. Is she also a member of the Guo family? Cloud Dance cold swept an eye the bodyguard that falls to the ground. Didn't have too much facial expression, lead the girls left. This time, Dixing did not stop him. But after she left, a call from an inside line is dialed out. It's a long time to leave the twilight. Yunwu released her hand, turned her head and looked at the girl who looked at her with adoring eyes. Who are you? Hearing this, the girl laughed awkwardly. My name is Long Yin. People who know me all call me Xiao Yin. Just now I'm sorry. I just called your mother in a hurry. Don't be angry, sister. Modern people who like to be called mother when they are young. What's more, their ages are not much different. However, when Yunwu heard the words, there was a strange flash on his face. Your surname is Dragon? Xiaoyin nodded. Yes, I grew up in the orphanage. The president's surname is Long. All the people who grew up in our orphanage are Long. When Yunwu is disappointed. But think about it, but I think maybe I miss my daughter too much. The Book of Heaven sent her back to the past time and space of mainland China. Even if the Book of Heaven was hit by the mark of heaven, and caused the turbulence of time and space. But it seems impossible to send her daughter to the earth. After all, the two worlds are different. Sister, aren't you happy? Growing up in an orphanage, she is good at observing what she says. Besides, she just feels very close to her and likes it. See, Cloud Dance seems to be in a bad mood. She inexplicably some tight wrinkle. Cloud Dance shook his head, convergence emotions. No, now you are safe, go home. Then she went to the night market. A few hours before the mission time, she went to the night market. It's just, what's going on with the girl who's been following her? Don't follow me. Yunwu stopped and looked at the girl. Little Silver is a little bit stiff. That can I follow elder sister you? If I go back, Dixing will send someone to arrest me. I can't protect you forever. If it's settled tonight, she'll have to find a way to go back to mainland China. If she can come back, there must be some chance or space-time crack. As for the modern side, she did not have any concern. Well, can I stay with you as long as I can? I promise, I won't give you any trouble. Besides, I'm good at cooking in order to highlight their value, Xiaoyin said. Actually, it's not necessary. Yunwu doesn't want to get involved with too many people here. However, I don't know why, when she looked at her eyes which were too eager, she could not say what she refused. At last, I can only sigh and say, I won't be here for a long time. It's okay, it's okay. A little time is a little time. Worried about Yunwu's refusal, Xiaoyin nodded and said, well, Yunwu didn't know what to say, so she stopped talking and went on to the nearest night market. Xiaoyin followed her cleverly. Night market. The flow of people is no more than that in the daytime. All kinds of stalls are noisy and lively. However, clearly walking in the crowd, Yunwu seems to feel that he can't integrate into the bustle. The more people she had, the more lonely she felt. She thought about Dragon, her children, her life and death partner, and her grandfather back to modern times. She realized that the earth that gave birth to her and raised her was so strange and lonely. She is like a rootless soul, floating in this space that does not belong to her. Xiaoyin, who had been following her, was a little uneasy. She felt that her sister would disappear in front of her next second. Scared, she grabbed her hand and held it tightly. This action awakened Yunwoo. "What's the matter?" Yunwoo turns her head and looks at the girl who suddenly holds her hand. "Sister, can we not leave Xiaoyin behind?" Xiaoyin didn't know what she wanted to say, just feeling, and didn't want her to disappear. She's scared, not afraid to be caught by Nadixing, but really feel a fear of losing a close relative. She did not understand why she wanted to be intimate with this woman, but she just knew that she didn't want to leave her. The cloud dances and hears the words, frowning. Let her follow and don't abandon her, but there are two definitions. Can cloud dance just open mouth? Suddenly a car emergency brake sound harsh ring. On the street side, as soon as several black luxury cars stopped, several people in black suits rushed towards them. You can see the momentum at a glance. Xiaoyin shrinks behind Yunwoo with a pale face. A big wave of people in black, who came out of nowhere, immediately dispersed the crowd and vendors around. The posture of those hundreds of people in black is absolutely shocking. Cloud Dance, looking at this situation, frown. She doesn't want to do it in public, especially in the modern world where there are so many cameras everywhere. After the men in black surrounded them, they didn't start. And then, a few long luxury cars slowly came from the empty street. It can empty the night market with so much noise and large flow of people, and even the traffic flow on the street. It can be seen from this that the comers are definitely not small. When the luxury car stops, the bodyguard opens the door respectfully. For luxury cars, one for each. 3 men and 1 woman. Junlang, Meili, Yaomei, Shixi, all kinds of different temperament, but they all have a good look, and one of them is the former Dixing. However, let Cloud Dance rather pick eyebrows, but it is their breath. Lingli? No. It's more like internal force. These 4 people seem to have some skills. After getting off the bus, the 4 people came slowly towards the clouds. They looked at each other with great fairness. Old 3, this beautiful woman is what you call a powerful guy? Tut tut, if your old man knows that you've lost so much kung fu, he'll be so angry that he'll blow his beard. It was the man with the evil temperament who spoke. Among the 4, the beautiful woman hooked her lips and picked her eyebrows with great interest. I think the little white rabbit you've raised for several years seems to like others better. This young lady's breath is very unique. Don't underestimate the enemy. The handsome man spoke more calmly. Dixing was always looked at the little woman behind Yunwoo, and her face was always gloomy. Silver, come here. Hearing the sound, Longyin shrank more and more behind Yunwoo, and his eyes were obviously unwilling. Di Xing's eyes flashed a trace of anger. At this time, his gloomy eyes finally fell on Yunwoo. She's my woman, give her back to me. This sentence made Cloud Dance frown. She didn't like what the man said. She chose me, and that's who I am. In a word, it shows its position. Damn it, it's Lily. The evil man opened his mouth in surprise, but he was indifferent in his eyes. The other men and women also smile. Di Xing clenched his fist, and his breath was fluctuating. He could already feel the pressure of his face. To die. 2 words fall. His tall figure has quickly flashed away. In front of modern ordinary people, the speed is absolutely weird and fast. However, Cloud Dance is not mortal. His speed is really slow for her. 1 in and 1 out, accompanied by the attack of internal force, they fought on the spot. But soon, originally also pondering looking at their 2 men and a woman, the facial expression all began to be deep serious. Dixing is not her match. Almost in C2 people fight several moves, 3 people in the heart knew the answer. This can make 3 people's faces changed, for people's strength can be said to be different, but for people want to point each high and low is very difficult. But in front of the woman, Dixing was not a match at all. Moreover, they seem to feel that the real strength of the woman is definitely more than what she shows now. Who the hell is she? The way of martial arts is more like killer. You help him, I'll make a phone call. Junlang man finished, convenient off back to luxury car. A man and a woman looked at each other, nodded tacit agreement. The 2 figures quickly joined the 2 people. Hundreds of people in black, just keep empty around, did not join. This is why Yunwu doesn't really use her own spiritual power. She just uses her own kung fu. It's really hard to work 3-on-1 without using your mental energy. These 3 men are very powerful, definitely more powerful than any killer. It seems that behind the modern society, there are still ancient martial arts. After more than 10 moves, Yunwu doesn't want to be entangled. Therefore, when she used her strength, she began to use her spiritual power and speed up a lot. The faces of the 3 men who were fighting with her were gradually dignified. No more fighting. All of a sudden, the evil man suddenly called back. Come on, Dixing, just give up and give her the rabbit. Don't talk about us. I'm afraid those old men are not the match for this woman. As soon as the evil man's words fell, the beautiful woman withdrew. Kneading his painful arm, he said helplessly, Di Long is right. We are not rivals. Let's forget it. Di Xing is angry, red eyes like, my woman no one wants to touch. All of a sudden, he also did not hide the internal force, straight attack clouds. Bang 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 bang. Gu Wu's internal power is strong and Yang's chi is abundant. Cloud Dance is quite interested in picking eyebrows, but unfortunately, his strength is not what she can see. According to the algorithm of mainland China, his strength can only be regarded as the level of a junior martial arts master. Therefore, in a brush hand, Di Xing's figure was directly flying out of the air. This scene, it shocked everyone. The heirs of the 4 great ancient martial arts families, who are powerful heirs, were beaten away by a young woman today? It's too scary. I think I should call the old man. The man, known as the dragon, stammered in surprise. One side of the beautiful woman, it seems not much better to go. I should also call. You don't have to fight anymore. I just called your old men. Several old men said that they wanted us to invite our guests home for a chat. Junling man comes back from luxury car Com Road. You're the boss. You can invite him. Long Tiamei Road. Beautiful woman Feng also agreed to nod. You go. Junlang man helpless, can only go forward on their own, however just 3 different aura. At this time the man was elegant and polite, and came to Yunwu with a smile. Miss, are you the doctor that X stopped? We are the 2nd ancestor of the 4 spirits group. Just now our old men called, and said that they would like to invite you home for a cup of tea. Don't worry. We have no malice. This guy's funny. Calling himself the 2nd ancestor? However, Cloud Dance just gave him a light look. I'm not interested in tea. Just don't disturb me again. Cloud Dance said, then glanced at the Dixing who got up from the ground. Once again, if she doesn't want to, don't try to force her. As soon as the words came down, Yunwu left with Long Yin. As for the man in black, he gave way automatically. What is momentum? Just look at this scene. Just let her go. Di Xing clenched his fist and turned his head coldly to look at the other 3. This makes people feel unwilling. However, there is no strength to stop it. Come on, the old man said, if you don't invite people back, let's all go back. Junling man said. Did the old man say anything? No, we have to leave her alone anyway. It sounds serious. Do those old men know anything? Feng asked. Junling man shook his head. I don't know. Anyway, don't delay. Let's go to my home. Yes, several people immediately got on the bus. Even if Di Xing was not reconciled, he had to go back first. I was originally looking for a place, but I didn't expect it to be like this. 3 in the morning. A villa in the suburb of XX. In the middle of the night, there was silence all around. And a figure, then as silent, appeared in the villa, did not disturb anyone. It's all time. Won't she come? In the villa, the gentle and beautiful woman asked another man. Yajing is sitting on the sofa, wiping the gun in his hand. Don't worry, her personality will come. Well, wait a minute. You look at the hand, remember to move fast. Once let her have a chance to react, the consequences are unimaginable. Samfeng continued. You nodded. Well, I know how to do it. Just do what you need to do. Sitting in the living room, a man and a woman have been looking at the direction of the gate, chatting and waiting for people. But I don't know, the people they were waiting for had already appeared on the second floor, not to mention, and had been listening to their conversation for a long time. It was not until she had the power to surpass others that she understood that the strong were respected. At this time, she looked at the scum men and women. She felt, in fact, they are not even scum. It was fun. But after fighting with those people tonight, looking at them, she suddenly lost the fun of playing. To slag, such as the existence of mole ants, is a direct contempt. Shake your head. Cloud danced so slowly down the stairs, did not hide. The two people who were still talking suddenly stopped and turned their heads. When they saw the cloud dancing down from the second floor, their faces suddenly changed. Why are you on the second floor? Impossible. This villa is different from others. It has been specially treated by them long ago. There is no place to enter except the gate. But she came down from the second floor. Isn't that scary? Cloud Dance looked at them two people boring pick eyebrow light way. Can't I appear in the second floor? When are you going up? How much of our conversation did you hear? Samfeng and Ye's faces were staring at Yunwu in different ways, and their looks gradually changed. To this, Cloud Dance cold hiss away. Here almost. This word falls, two people facial expression one sync, twinkling of an eye, two muzzles aimed at her. It seems that you can't stay one more second. Talk to her and kill her. As soon as Samfeng fell, she took the gun without hesitation. Bang bang, two shots sounded. It seems that there is no time to take the sound out of the mouth on the shot. In the middle of the night, there was a sudden gunshot, so we can imagine what would happen. But Samfeng and Ye's face suddenly changed. Because at the moment when they pulled down the gun, the figure in front of them twisted and disappeared in front of them. Just like ghosts, they disappear out of thin air. What a frightening situation that is. People? What's the matter? Two people panic. In person in front of them disappear that moment, was shocked scared. Looking for me? Suddenly, a whizzing voice sounded in their ears. Turning around, when they saw the woman who didn't know who was standing behind them, they were both terrified and tried to shoot her. What a pity. Not interested in playing with their cloud dance, but directly pinched the muzzle of the gun facing her, gently pinched, the muzzle twisted. What's that definition? It can be seen from their frightened eyes. You are not Wufeng. Almost at that moment, Samfeng understood one thing. Even if Wufeng is more powerful, it is absolutely impossible to achieve this. The cloud danced coldly, like the devil in hell, and said coldly, No, I'm Wufeng, but I'm Wufeng who crawled back from hell. The 5 phoenixes of the previous life died in the hands of this pair of scum men and women. Her return is really from hell. This time, she just came to recover what they owed her. Everything is a cycle. What you owe, you have to pay it back. After half a ring, a huge explosion, suddenly in this villa area, set off half of the spark. The figure of Cloud Dance, as it came, disappeared quietly in the villa area. The next day, a building in the downtown area is just outside the old house. A few luxury cars came early in the morning. However, this time down it is a few old men dressed in Zhongshan costume. This is where she lives. One of the old men looked around and frowned. This environment is too bad. The information shows that it's here. Let's go and see you, said another old man. For old men did not let the bodyguard follow them, so they went slowly towards an old building in the alley. All the residents around looked out curiously. But it seems that they are afraid to offend those who seem to have a bright future. They only dare to sneak around. Cluck. A knock on the old iron door. The people in the house seemed to turn a deaf ear. The 4 old men outside the door were very patient. They knocked and stopped for an hour. The people in the house finally opened the door impatiently. What's the matter? It's all right. Get out of here. Yunwu came back very late last night. He just didn't sleep for a while. But in the early morning, some old men came to disturb people's dreams. It's really upsetting. Longyin also lives in her house for the time being. However, she can't quarrel with her and can't open the door without permission, so she goes to cook breakfast. Just Cloud Dance originally impatient mood. When looking at 4 old men outside the door, I suddenly deep a few minutes. Look at the 4 old men. The smell of these old men is familiar. At the same time, the eyes of the 4 old men also wandered around her, as if they were looking at each other. Half a ring. 4 old men broke the silence first. Excuse me, is that Miss Yin? It was an older man who spoke. Of course, the 4 old men all seem to be of the same age. Yunwu's age is judged by their 2 pieces of nonsense. However, after hearing their words, Cloud Dance pupil eyes slightly shrink. Miss Yin? How can they use that name? If she remembers correctly, in modern times, her name is Wufeng, codename is Doctor. The name of Cloud Dance only appeared in mainland China. But when the 4 old men spoke, they called her Miss Yin. Feng Mao tiny am I, the eye ground many a silk ponder. What do you want to look for me? This made the eyes of the 4 old men shine. Even the mood is a little excited up like, now smile into a chrysanthemum face. Finally, when you show up, Miss Yin, could you please come to us? Don't worry, we don't mean any harm. It's just that our ancestors want to see you. Why is this so strange? Their ancestors want to see her? Is she going to die? Or should she go to the grave? Miss Yin, don't get me wrong. Our ancestors didn't die. He just in a word, Miss Yin will come back with us, and then everything will be clear. As if afraid of being misunderstood, another old man explained it again. What was the name of your ancestors? Cloud Dance's pick eyebrows. The 4 old men looked at each other and shook their heads. Miss Yin, just come with us. It's not convenient for us to say more outside. Yes, if Miss Yin is not at ease, we can use sidling group to ensure your safety. For old men, you and I can't see the usual dignified appearance. At this time, sister, it's dinner. Inside, there was the cry of longing. In fact, for Yunwu, her strength seems to have broken through another level that she doesn't know very well. She has no feeling whether to eat or not. However, at this time, she still returned to the house and had breakfast. The 4 old men looked at each other and followed in. And then I saw this weird scene. 4 old men were standing at the table, while only 2 beautiful women were sitting on the small table. Longing couldn't help but ask the Cloud Dance around him, who was staring at them all the time. Sister, would you like to invite them to sit down and eat? Actually, she doesn't cook much. But a bowl for 1 person is just enough. Cloud Dance lightly swept an eye 4 old men. Shrug a shoulder way. At will. I thought it would be impossible for these 4 old men to sit in such a humble place and eat millet porridge. But which once thought, she words a fall, didn't wait for Longin to get up, for old men early automatic spontaneous into the kitchen. When they came out, one of them drank a bowl of millet porridge. Shit. There's something wrong with the style. Not to mention Longin. Even Cloud Dance was quite surprised. Haha. We haven't had breakfast yet. Don't be surprised. I'm old and dizzy without breakfast. Well, this porridge tastes good. The little girl is good at cooking. Not bad, not bad. The 4 old men were full of praise while eating. I don't know why. How does Cloud Dance feel like flattering? After dinner, Cloud Dance then along with 4 old men on the car, Longin also follow. She always felt that maybe this trip could make her understand what Longin felt for her. In fact, Sidling Group is the title of the 4 collectives. However, the 4 groups are not merged, and even the 4 groups are involved in different fields. However, these 4 groups in different fields have cooperated for decades and never heard of any competition. This harmonious coexistence is really incredible. However, it is undeniable that although the 4 major groups are in charge of different fields, the benefits and influence gained by the 4 parties' cooperation can almost affect the whole Asia. From this point, we can see the horror. When 4 luxury cars stopped at a luxury house, a row of servants and bodyguards almost stood on both sides of the gate. The car went straight into the mansion. It was discovered that there was a huge garden in the mansion. It took 3 minutes to stop. Big Master, Second Master, Third Master, Fourth Master. A respectful address resounded through the mansion. Yunwu and Longyin got out of the car. They were not surprised by the battle. The four old men had already taken on the dignity and momentum they should have. However, they are still kind and gentle to Yunwu. "Miss Yin, this way please." The four old men didn't seem to want to say anything more in front of the servants. They soon took Yunwu and Longyin into the mansion. As soon as I entered the hall, I saw that there were 3 young men and 1 woman waiting in the hall. As soon as Di Xing saw Longyin, he wanted to go forward. But at last, under the glare of his old man, he could only stop and stare at Yunwu with his cold eyes. The other 2 men and 1 woman looked at Yunwu curiously. It was dark last night, and I didn't really see clearly. Today, I saw that this woman is very beautiful. At least, the whole body with a cold breath, on the bar. These 4 are the heirs of our 4 families. It's too late to introduce them to Miss Yin. Please follow us. Several old men glanced at their grandchildren and motioned for them to be quiet. Then he took Yunwu to the courtyard behind the mansion. Longyin glances at Di Xing from the corner of her eyes, and then goes to the backyard with Yunwu. As for Di Xing's sight on her, she ignores it directly. Who the hell is that woman? Why does she want my woman and I'll give it to her? Di Xing wakes up with a calm temperament. It seems that when Yunwu robs him of his woman, she becomes extremely irritable and restless. He always felt that Cloud Dance was a great threat to him. Big enough, as if really can't catch back his woman General Terrible. Hearing this, the other 3 people all lightly raised their eyebrows and shrugged their shoulders and said, "I think you'd better accept your fate. That woman may really be the killer who comes to rob women with you." "Tut tut, pitiful. I didn't expect that your rival was a woman. She was sad for you." Hearing his playmate's sarcastic remarks, Di Xing's face turned black. The backyard of a mansion has its own way. When Yunwu and Longyin follow the 4 old men into the illusory door and enter another space, she finally understands where the familiarity with the 4 old men comes from. Juyo. No wonder there's a sense of familiarity. It's him. Looking at the familiar mansion in another space, Yunwu doesn't know whether to laugh or cry. The taste of Juyo seems to remain unchanged. Yes, as like as 2 peas in the dark space, the big house is exactly the same as the original dark place of the evil clan. However, different demons need to use black fog as a boundary. At this time, the mansion is located in a valley with mountains and water. Flowers in full bloom, rivers and rivers is a paradise. Originally in the demon clan, Yunwu in order to break through the border, and Jiuyo in order to change his life against the sky, Yunwu manipulated Tianshu to send him into the stream of time and space. Outside, Jiuyo announced that he had been killed. Because only in that way, Yunwu can break through the barrier and return to the human world. And Jiuyo can break away from the shackles that have bound him for thousands of years. Just did not expect, into the space-time flow of Jiuyo, will appear in the modern Earth. So she can return to mainland China? Thinking of this, Yunwu felt a little excited. "Girl, you are all right." Jiuyo's flat voice came from the mansion with a smile. Soon, a handsome man in a white suit came out of the mansion. However, he was accompanied by a woman. Very familiar. By the way, Tianshu looks like an adult woman. Is that woman a letter from heaven? Led by 4 old men, Yunwu and Longyin directly cross a wooden bridge, and soon arrive at the gate of the mansion. Ancestors. Ancestors. For old men, Chi-Chi respectfully addressed Jiuyu. But why is this picture so strange? For old men with white hair call their ancestors to a handsome man in his early 30s? Sweat drops. Yunwu said that he was speechless, but Jiuyu usually brushed his hands to the 4 old men, and opened his mouth like an old ancestor. "You did a good job in this matter. All right, let's go back. I'll just greet the guests myself." Yes, yes. Only 4 old men left respectfully without saying anything. The silver dragon with the silly eye. As for Cloud Dance, although I think it's weird, I can see what's going on. It seems that Jiuyo still retains his cultivation through time and space, not old and not dead in fact, not to mention Jiuyo. She doesn't know the Cloud Dance at this time. She is not what she used to be. It looks like you're doing well. It's hard to make fun of Cloud Dance. Nine Yu hook lips a smile, embrace nearby woman, Smile very bright, return away. Is very good, and all these all want to thank you. I don't need to thank you, but I want to go back to the mainland of China. You can let Tianshu send me back. Cloud Dance says, the line of sight falls on the female body of Nainyu side. But Jiuyo shook his head at her like a treasure protector. She's not a letter from heaven. Don't say something in front of her. Let's go. Let's talk in the room. With that, he went back to the room with the woman who was also looking at the Cloud Dance curiously. It's not the Book of Heaven? Cloud Dance eyes have been falling on the woman, but did not say much. With a confused face of Long In went in. The layout of the mansion is modern after all, but the orientation of the house remains unchanged. Come to anteroom, Nainyu say with the woman in the arms to prepare tea. After supporting her, just smile, not smile of lift eyes looking at Cloud Dance. I didn't expect you to come back. As soon as you come back, you will kill people and set off bombs. You are not afraid of the police. I'm here. I'm a killer. It's a killer. If you're afraid of the police, what's the use of killers? Don't tell me what I have. You know what I want to know in my heart. You just say, if your woman is not a letter from heaven, is there any way to let me go back to mainland China? Smell speech. Nainyu pick eyebrow. Go back? Why go back? This is where you used to live. How nice it is. I like it very much. Do you mean it? Cloud Dance stares at him, eyes tiny down. Tut tut, it hasn't changed at all. It's no joke. Jiuyo said, uninteresting. Come on, don't make fun of me. Tell me how to get back. Yunwu is a little anxious. Jiuyo was silent for a long time. He looked at her sympathetically and sighed. You really can't go back. Thousands of years ago, the Book of Heaven brought her soul back to me. And then it fell into a deep sleep. Before the deep sleep, it said that on the day of the catastrophe, you awakened with the power of the dragon and merged with the power of the gods, which led to the reversal of time and space, and brought all the disasters in the mainland of China back to zero. Time has never existed in mainland China. Therefore, you are no longer a part of that time and space. Everything about you is cleared when you return to zero. In other words, all traces of your existence will be forgotten. That is to say, Long Qingxie will forget her? Nangong Yi's life and death partners will not remember who she is? What about her children? No way. Yunwu never felt that he was so messy, and his inner panic could not be described by words. She thought of anything but this. No wonder she will go back to modern times. It turns out that everything is back to zero. No. If it's all zero, then my memory can't still exist? What's more, everything still exists in my cultivation and personal space. It's impossible to return to zero if I return to zero. You're lying. The cloud danced, the voice trembled and the anger rose. One hand toward the side Namu table. A loud noise directly smashed. Bang. This sudden movement made the woman who just came in with tea jump, and the plate fell to the ground. Nainyu frown. Pity to get up to pacify oneself. The woman who is frightened. Half-ring just helplessly looking at Cloud Dance. You stubborn temper want to get angry also light point. Cannot scare my wife. Shit. Can you keep your anger down? However, even if Yunwu was frightened and didn't believe it, she didn't lose her mind. When Jiuyo comforted his poor little woman, she was silent. Until the woman was pacified and half-coaxed to leave the hall, Yunwu said faintly, her soul is very weak, I'm afraid it won't last long. Jiuyo nodded with a faint smile, but he couldn't ignore his pity and bitterness at the bottom of his eyes. It's much better than when Tianshu just brought back her soul. It's more reincarnation. Let's strengthen it slowly. With your skill, can't you strengthen her soul? The clouds frown. Jiuyo shakes his head. If so, he doesn't have to watch her reincarnation from birth to death again and again. Just can have her again, even if have to bear her death again and again. This is better than the previous loss. I've used all the methods that can be used, but it doesn't work. Oh, Cloud Dance light should be a sentence. At this moment, she seems to return to the past indifference, the wind and clouds of sitting on the side of the chair. 9. You see this, on the contrary some curiosity. Why just now? It's just gone? 1 yen. Cloud Dance coldly raised his eyes, glanced at him and casually opened his mouth. If you don't say it, I really want to worry. It's useless, so I'll wait for you to tell me when. I mean, I'm going to live with him? Actually, he has a big house, so it doesn't matter if he has 1 or 2 more people. However, his frail daughter-in-law could not help being frightened from time to time. Juyo sighed, and then glanced at the dragon silver beside Yunwoo. If I'm right, the little girl beside you should be the one you brought into the demon family. However, she seems to have experienced several reincarnations, and her power has been almost consumed. What a daughter! Yunwoo turns his head and looks at Longyin with ups and downs. If you're not excited, it's fake. At the beginning, Tianshan promised me that he would help me find my daughter. He broke his promise. The Cloud Dance sank its voice, but did not think. 9 You inexplicable smile. What are you laughing at? The clouds frown. I'm laughing. How come you still don't know the situation? Do you think that if you can come back with memory and cultivation, it really just happens naturally? If I'm not wrong, your cultivation has broken through the martial arts stage, and you've been separated from the mortal body. However, even so, you can't travel freely through time and space. You'll come back here. Someone should have sent you back specially. As for who it is, he won't say. You said I broke through the martial god? How could it be that even if she awakened the power of the witch saint, she would only reach Wuxian? How can you cross a level and break the martial god? Well, if I'm not wrong, you have broken the martial god. In other words, you are qualified to enter the Protoss. 9 You swept an eye, she said. It turned out that a sacrifice would break the martial god. Should she be happy or should she cry? Because of this, she lost him. And even her son and company. If she had a choice, she would rather not. Is it really impossible to go back? Cloud Dance looks at Juyo and asks seriously. Juyo shook his head. No, I'm not kidding you. Oh. Haha. Yunwoo felt that he would smile again in his heart, which was bitter. I want to be angry, but I find that I have no reason to be angry. Who is to blame for all this? It seems that she wants to blame nobody. However, don't worry about it. Anyway, with the power of becoming a god, you will have the capital of immortality. Wait a minute. If your man really wants to find you, maybe one day he will come here. Juyo's words are mostly composed of comfort. Unfortunately, for Cloud Dance, it has not been comforted at all. Just feel, the bottom of my heart seems to lack a mouthful. Really lost. How to leave the Juyo place, Cloud Dance also don't remember. Anyway, when she came back, she had already returned to her old house. And with her, there was a face worried about her dragon silver. Her daughter. Unexpectedly, I thought that I would send her back to the past time and space to escape the catastrophe, but I sent her here instead. Does this mean that you have to survive your own disaster? Heart pantothenic acid. Sister, you look very pale. Are you okay? Longyin looks at the Cloud Dance in a trance all day. Although I went to a magical place, I heard the inexplicable dialogue. However, Longyin didn't seem to make a fuss. Nothing. Yunwoo shakes her head and subconsciously reaches out to rub her head. But they found that they were almost the same height. Seeing Yunwoo's raised hand, Longyin was stunned for a moment, and then quickly squatted down and stretched out his head. Touch it, sister, so you can feel better. This skillful action seems to have been done countless times. However, little fat girl was the most skinny when she was a child. The arrogance of little devil would never like others to touch her head. As if to think of something, Yunwoo's face sank, lifted her up and asked, "That man often forces you to do something you don't like?" That man, of course, means Nadixing. Longyin was in a daze. For a moment he didn't seem to react. It took a long time to understand who Cloud Dance meant. However, she was a little embarrassed and complicated. She said, "No, he's just a bit overbearing and good to me." Okay, look at her face and you can see what's going on. To tell you the truth, Yunwoo was in a bad mood, but now it's even worse. The situation of meeting Longyin last night flashed through my mind. How much did you owe him? What? Longyin can't react. Yunwoo avoids scaring her, tries to bear the feeling of trying to peel the dead boy, and says in a low voice, "In the future, you will live with me. How much money you owe him, I will help you pay back, and don't get involved with him in the future. It's unforgivable for a boy to point out her daughter. In fact, every mother's mood will be the same. Never allow her daughter to suffer any loss. Longyin inexplicably watched the cloud dance for a long time, and then asked innocently, "That I didn't mean to listen to it, but when I entered that magical place in the morning, I heard your conversation with that person. Is it true? Is it really my mother?" Cloud Dance looked at her, did not answer the rhetorical question. "If I said yes, would you feel very strange? In fact, the reincarnation of several generations, now her body is no longer the original, but the soul doesn't change." Longyin hesitated for a long time, then stared at Yunwu like that for a long time, and then nodded. "It's strange, but I know you won't cheat me. I like you very much. I don't know why I feel this when I first see you, but I know you will never hurt me." Smell speech. Cloud Dance laughed. "No matter how long we try our best, we can't cover up the luster of our eyes. You have a name, Long Qing'ai, which your father gave you, and a younger brother, Long Qinggu, which means to give up my love all my life." Since that day, Longyin changed its name to Longqing Love. Since that day, Dixing has become the object of some woman's abuse. However, since that day, a woman has become the object of Dickinson. The reversal of the 18 curves only comes from the fact that the woman he likes is someone else's daughter. The mother and daughter are only a couple of years old. I can't afford to offend you, especially when the heirs of the 4 proud sons learned that such a beautiful young woman was the same level of evil as their evil ancestors. It was almost kneeling. How can they worship the 2 evils in the world at the same time? Alas, there's a lot of pressure. Time flies by. In the blink of an eye, it has been 7 years. For Cloud Dance, 7 years, in fact, in the fingers, but also led her almost to the point of despair. In the past 7 years, in addition to taking care of her daughter, she has been to almost every corner of the world, just trying to find out whether there is a possible space-time gap. Or if you want to find out, does he come or not? However, even if she went to every corner, disappointment is still disappointment. She often thinks that if she didn't choose to be perfect, she didn't choose to sacrifice with dignity, let the mainland of China be destroyed in the hands of the devouring Protoss, but she can at least have him can really win dream back then. Her choice is still the same. Alas! Suddenly she didn't understand herself. Is she still the doctor who killed decisively? All this seems to have been a foregone conclusion. Just as Juyo told her at the beginning. She and he are doomed to be impossible together. Maybe she should learn to forget. But I don't know, in a certain time and space, the 2 figures have been shuttling through several time and space worlds, and they are looking for it tirelessly. 3,000 worlds is not true and false talk. But which of the 3,000 worlds is she in? What time? Can we really find it one day? Earth. Another year has passed. This year, Yunwu is not going out to look for it. She finally plans to take root. Because her baby daughter is pregnant. Yes, during the time she ran out, she found that her baby daughter was contaminated. And the man who polluted her was the one who looked down on her daughter for 8 years. To tell you the truth, she still looks at the boy named Dixing. However, it has to be said that in 8 years, she was a little satisfied with his persistence. However, the point of unmarried pregnancy is enough reason for her to beat him to death. If not for the happiness of her baby daughter, she directly abandoned his heart. Finally, Juyo came out to be a peacemaker. In order to prevent the baby daughter's stomach from growing up, the engagement and marriage on the day of Lantern Festival in the new year were held at the same time. Another month. The new year is so close to the wedding that it's enough to keep Dixing busy for a while. During this period of time, Yunwu made the dragon practice hard, and the progress of physical cultivation was very slow. However, Long Qing'ai has a very good talent, and her progress is very fast. However, her strength is still biased towards the dark department. This may be innate. However, during this period, Yunwu found another strange thing, that is Dixing. That guy's talent of cultivation is surprisingly good, even better than Dragon's love. However, he is inclined to the light department. The opposite of these two extremes makes Cloud Dance a little uneasy. She was afraid that her daughter's fate would be the same as hers. It's just that this earth is not the land of China that worships martial arts. There should be nothing wrong. So gradually Cloud Dance also didn't care much. Mom, Dixing is coming to pick me up to try on my wedding dress. Are you going? The sound of Dragon's Love came from the door. Cloud Dance Pan sits on the bed to adjust breath, after hearing sound, then opened eyes. Wedding dress? Somehow she thought of him again. Two married. Two people never seem to be really formed. He still owes her a wedding. When will she be able to see him again? Heart, and cannot help a burst of pain. However, Yunwoo quickly converged, got up from the bed and opened the door. Go, of course she will. She must refer to her baby daughter's wedding dress herself. Doorway. Dixing, leaning on the side of the car with her legs crossed, is looking very happy, putting on a posture that she thinks is the most handsome, waiting for her woman to come out and try her wedding dress. 8 years. I've been a monk for 8 years before he got the chance to plant seeds and bring back the beauty. Finally, I can get rid of the so-called mother-in-law. It's worth a fat beating. However, when he looked forward to it, he saw the mother-in-law coming along with his daughter-in-law, and he stumbled under his feet and almost fell into a mess. I'm haunted. Mimi's dream of embracing his daughter-in-law will be broken again 8 years later. In fact, Yunwoo's appearance has not changed at all. She is still young and beautiful in her early 20s. Longqing's love is 26 years old, but he is still young and beautiful. But when they walk together, it's the trend that Longqing's love becomes elder sister. There's no way. It's a problem of cultivation. But it's not a problem. The problem is that Dixing, a 31-year-old man, has to exchange a woman who looks like she's in her 20s for Ma. It's so cold. This mother-in-law is so terrible. Is there a choice? No, if he had a choice, he would have replaced the old demon. Ma. Just as Cloud Dance approached, make complaints about a friendly voice from a man's mouth full of tutsao. Integrity broken all over the floor. Dixing wants to be handsome, but 8 years' lessons are enough for him to learn. I quickly opened the car door and asked my mother-in-law to get on the car. Originally, he wanted his daughter-in-law to sit in the front seat, but Longqing got into the back seat first. If he didn't see his daughter-in-law give him a wink, he would turn over the dry vinegar jar in his heart. Is there such a mother-in-law? My daughter-in-law is like her. Well, I didn't get the certificate. The beauty is still in her hands. Wait. When the daughter-in-law gets it, she must move away, far away from the old demon. Ideal is very happy. This world is very bony. Wait and see. Dixing drives fast and steadily in the lane of the stream of people, and the scenes around him brush by. After Yunwoo got on the bus, he kept looking out of the window. Maybe it's because of thinking of him. She has been a little confused. Mom, are you okay? I don't look very well. Longqing, who has been paying attention to his mother's look, asks anxiously. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.